How's it going, everybody? How are you all doing on this fine Tuesday evening? Or, whatever time of day it is for where you are. We are going to get started here real quick. We are shifting Matt to a new recording platform, so the thing that happened to our episode of the Doofcast that happened on Thursday never happens again.
Yep.
So that's why we're running a little bit behind. How's it going, Kiefer? How's it going, Zendrix? How's it going, Wildbow? Hope you guys are having a good day. I was on the Peloton like 10 minutes ago, so it's weird to be sitting. I'm still like cooling down. But I ran out of time for my bike ride, so I had to fit it in. How's it going to Jay, Kiefer, Skins, Aaron? Hope you all are doing well. I can never say your name since without like saying it three different ways at the same. Like I don't think it's ever happened where I haven't said it different ways each time. And it's not your fault. It's all my fault. Thanks, Aaron. I am. It's a good Tuesday so far. I've got a lot of book left to read for the book club this Friday, so when we finish here, that's going to be the rest of my free time this week. Because I waited to the last minute again.
And I read it a month ago and have now forgotten everything.
That's like how we do it. How we do it. Matt reads it on day 2 of the month. I read it on the last one. Luckily, I mean, I don't know. You audiobooked it, so I don't know if you could tell. But for me, it seems like a pretty quick read. Like it's 400 pages, but they're going by fast, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you got it all situated?
I think so. I mean, I'm always nervous when we change something because what if I push the button and then it just is like, I was supposed to be recording something? Huh?
You want to test it one more time just to make sure?
I mean, I just did it again and it seems fine. But
I just have it up on. Do you have 2 monitors yet?
No.
Matt. I just have it up on my second monitor so I can like monitor the fact that it's recording and working and everything.
That'll make me feel better. I'll do that.
Yeah. Ugh, man. Oh yeah, that intro. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Shoot. And I was listening to like 30 We've Got Worm intros today.
So now they're all stuck in your head now?
Yeah, and now I'm like, wow, those were good. What happened to us?
Huh.
They weren't all good though. Some of them I could tell we were like we are right now, or like I don't know what to do for this. Yeah, Matt, get a second monitor.
I know.
Frankly, it's disgusting that you don't have one. I'm disgusted.
Okay, fine.
Making sure I remembered to add everything else. Yes. Oh, you put names next to the people. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't quite finish that task, but it's fine.
I mean, as long as it's established, we just follow the pattern. Detective mad at you.
It's a race.
What?
It's a race to see who can write the intro first.
I mean, Wildbow's giving us ideas. I don't know if you're checking the chat.
Oh. I like that, yeah. I was going detective. I was gonna go detective and suspect, but I like bartender and drunk too.
Yeah. I don't think that actually makes sense. It's just a thing that's funny to say. I think it makes sense in context.
I don't know where to go from there. Is the problem?
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Well. Okay. Can work with that.
What? Did you say good luck with that?
No, I said I can work with that.
I don't know about that. I'm regretting it. I think we should go with detective. I think that works better.
Okay. All right.
I think there's more to play off of on that. This is great streaming.
Yeah.
This is great quality content, everyone.
This is really good stuff.
Super quality.
This is why you guys are following us.
Stupid. We really need to come up with these jokes, and we're not. I feel like we think we work well under pressure, and
yeah. I think this terrible experience is going to finally teach us to do this in a timely fashion.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, my dog is snoring. Maggie.
All right. There, you wrap that up somehow. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
I need to get this dog out of this room because she's gonna snore the entire time.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Maggie, come on. Maggie. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. I know. All right.
I'm clicking record.
Yeah. Why not? I'm gonna do that too.
Okay.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. The recording is working. Hooray!
I see waveforms.
Waveforms.
Forming.
Just to make sure, this is probably something I don't need to say right now, but when you do export it the biggest possible file size.
Okay.
Because I compress it when I export everything, but if I compress a compressed thing, it's gonna kind of be shitty.
Okay.
Maggie is loud. I had to do it. I had to. All right. Check. Yeah. That's me ready.
Alrighty.
Am I gonna handle the March Madness update? I'm guessing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Or we don't even have to do it if you're not.
I'm just gonna do because
Okay. Yep.
All right, let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One. Hey, everybody. Welcome to We've Got Ward, a Doof Media podcast series where we expertly dissect and discuss Ward, Wildbow's return to the world of parahumans. My name is Matt Freeman, and we're just having a conversation. No pressure.
I'm Scott Daly, and I'm not going to say a damn thing without my lawyer present.
Fine. Hey, don't get the lawyer. Don't get the lawyer. In the meantime, why don't we just have a short, breezy chat about Ward?
Yeah, okay. Whatever keeps us from talking about that murder I did.
But wait, what?
Ward! This is the weekly podcast where Matt and I eagerly dive into Wildbow's world of damning silences, neck stabbing, and alien-based death powers as we analyze and interpret this ongoing web serial. This week we are continuing our journey through Arc 12 Heavens with Chapter 12.E and 12.3. First up, we finally get back to that damn dream room we've been looking forward to for a while, Matt, with Love Lost's interlude. And then Victoria almost dies, and then calls people a lot of mean names until she convinces Prancer and Moose that she's really cool and they should help her. Matt, what did you think about these two chapters?
Yeah, Victoria's just real mean, just real mad at people. Mad at people.
Yeah.
I wish I had said last week that I predicted that it would be a Love Lost interlude, and I predicted that it would have a weird backwards letter attached to it. But I didn't say this to anyone. It was just in my head, so I get no credit for it, which is always the saddest thing.
Well, especially since we recorded on Wednesday last week, so you had definitely read the chapter already, so that would have been meaningless.
It would have been a meaningless, yes. But anyway, I loved the Love Lost interlude. I have a lot to say about the Victoria chapter. It's doing a lot of really interesting things, and it's just really fun, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, there's the Love Lost chapter is something I think we've been looking forward to for a long time, and it does not disappoint. I have less to say about the Victoria chapter this week. I think you're probably going to do most of the talking in that conversation, which is different than usual, I think. But I still enjoyed the fighting a lot. And yeah, let's just do it. Let's not waste any time. Let's not take 10 minutes on this or anything.
No, let's do some. You had an announcement, I think, first.
Yeah, so we talked last week about our fun little bracket game that we're calling March's Madness to go along with the NCAA tournament next month. And we talked about how we basically announced it, and after trying to get it down, trying to start to work down to an actual bracket, we kind of realized that doing this for both books in the series is ridiculous, and there's no way we can do it. It's going to be hard enough to get 64 characters just with one of the books. So this year the bracket is just going to be Worm characters. My goal is to have the bracket done and the voting started by Friday the 1st. That's pretty ambitious. Gonna realistically say Monday. My secret goal is Friday that I'm just telling everyone about. But the realistic goal is Monday.
All right.
And
so
we'll let you guys know about all that. We'll post if you want to look out for when that bracket's going to appear and when the voting and stuff is going to appear. Make sure you follow our account on Twitter at GotWormPod, and you'll know when that stuff happens.
Yeah. Also, announcement: we dropped an episode of We've Got Weaver Dice Vegas.
Oh yeah, we did that.
We did. Pretty happy with how that one turned out. Everybody seems to like it. That's episode 6. So, it's like a real show now. I feel like episode 6 is it means it's really happening,
Yeah, I think that's when we were talking about bringing new shows into the network, where 6 episodes was about the point where we were okay, you've done 6 episodes, you've proven you're a real show now. Now you come on in.
Yeah. Right. It only took us a year or so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think the goal, we've said this literally every time we've released a new episode, but the goal is to really get down to a bi-weekly schedule with that. We'll see, but that's I think we're pretty committed to trying that this time. And it just, maybe shorter episodes. This was a long one. It was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah. One thought is shorter episodes, maybe breaking up a given recording session into a couple episodes if necessary, but yeah, we'll experiment with it. I'm kind of happy with what it is and where it's going. I just want it to be more often, and I think so do you guys, and we'll try to get there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Scott, let's get into the chapters.
All right.
We begin with 12.E.
E, Matt. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
interesting. And we'll have to figure out at the end of the arc what exactly that means.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theories going around. People think it's going to spell something, and they have some ideas about what it's going to spell. The thing about that is, it's rule of three. You need three to start to understand what the pattern there is. So
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
My thought is just it's messing with time, and so it's messing with the order of things, messing with the structure of things
together. Yeah, I don't think the thing is, I don't think .e has ever been used. Ever.
Maybe interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't know. That might not be true.
Well, we'll check on that later, everyone. So this chapter begins where Love Lost kind of lives her life, the past. She's in a concrete interrogation room with a monster in the corner of the room.
Yeah, the opening paragraph of this whole chapter, I think, is one of those ones that's like really important. We're introduced to the suspect in this interrogation room, and before we even really understand what's going on, we've labeled them a monster. It's going to be like pages in this chapter, relative pages. It's online, but you know what I mean. Before we find out, what this monster did to be labeled a monster, but this one thing makes it very clear from the jump, from the very start of this chapter, that Love Lost has already made up her mind. And I love how the text like subtly reinforces this. The monster isn't just sitting in the chair; it's perched on the chair, right? The chair creaks every time they move. Like this is like audible and textual clues as to support the idea of calling this person a monster.
Yeah, and I think there's a subtext to it where we're learning about this character. It's not just that Love Lost has made up her mind about this person. This is how she sees the world. This is how she sees people. There are monsters. This isn't even a young woman. This is a monster, and she deals with a lot of them. She's dealt with so many of them that at this point, it's not even that out of the ordinary for her.
Right.
And she's going to deal with it. It's interesting, kind of the description of this environment. So like basically they're on the unexpected side of the one-way mirror. They're on like the side that you can see through, and like the actual interrogation room behind the mirror it has a woman talking to multiple officers. So basically it's an interesting setup where they're showing the monster like the damage that she has caused in an attempt to get under her skin, I guess. So Nick, which is Love Lost's name, is interrogating the real suspect, the monster, whose name is Jen. But of course, that's not how they're framing it to her.
I think framing it is a really good and apt word to talk about this whole thing, because I think we had to talk about how this scene is framed. You're absolutely right that this is different. This is weird. Like the room with the reflective glass where you could see your reflection is not the one that these characters are in. They're in the other side. That is significant here. We have a character in Love Lost who is kind of blind to her own actions, blind to the person she's becoming, almost unable to see her reflection. And we kind of establish that in this early scene where she's on the other side of the glass. She's not in that room. And the idea of the monster is not the one you think it is, right? Like it just so happens that this Jen person in this case did actually do the terrible thing that she's being accused of, but we're kind of playing with this idea of like where is the monster, where is the suspect, where is the actual interrogation going down. Like everything's shifted, everything's different, and we're playing with this and establishing this early on in the chapter, and we're going to use this kind of imagery and this kind of confusion to pay off throughout the chapter, but explicitly at the end.
Yeah, and there's multiple structural elements in this chapter that recur and echo each other between the two, the past and the present storylines.
Yeah.
And this is the first note of that, basically at the very start of it. So the suspect says that she won't say anything without a lawyer, but she doesn't actually ask for a lawyer, so they don't get her one.
Ah, the delicious technicalities. Mwah.
Yeah,
the things that cops love to use.
Yep. So Nicole's partner, Doug, tries to soften up the suspect using the good cop routine, Nicole, acting mostly on instinct, leaves the room to go on a self-appointed mission. She fabricates some evidence, working on a guess that Jen tampered with her brother's medication, and then she brings her own pills for her own anemia as a prop. She fakes a letter from the victim, everything puts everything together, and then brings it to her partner in the interrogation room.
So I don't really want us to dive into like a super political conversation about the ethics of detective interrogation techniques and the modern day criminal justice system. I know there are people out there that have very strong opinions about that. We've talked about this a lot in the Doof Discord. What I think matters here is that the story is painting us a picture of who Lovelost is. Someone who is willing to wade into questionable behavior when she feels that that behavior is justified against a person that she has labeled and decided is a monster. Importantly, Nicole is right here, right? Like, Jen is guilty. Like, we established that the person that she has convinced herself is a monster is guilty of the crime she thought she was guilty of. And through that, we're establishing, hey, Lovelost is pretty good at her job, actually. Like, we say she's observant. She notices things, like she caught the writing by the kid, and she, was able to make a mental leap that it was probably something through medication and that kind of stuff. Are her techniques questionable? Yeah. Are they illegal? That's a gray line, right? But we're seeing a person who's willing to walk up to that line. We're seeing a person that they don't like really act independently, because I think importantly throughout the scene we see she goes to the chief, right? She goes to her boss with the stuff and basically gets like permission before she does this. So she's not like operating on her own here. He approves of her methodology here. So we're establishing her as this person that is willing to skirt that line, to go up to it, to kind of play with this idea of going into inappropriate behavior, but is not like fully there yet, right?
Absolutely, yeah. She's pushing it, right? She's basically, the way I view it is we're establishing her as a character who is willing to go to unusual lengths to get what she wants, especially when she feels like she is stopping a monster.
Yep.
She can justify quite a lot when she feels like she's trying to stop a monster. And like basically, we're going to see in a second, like all of her kind of cop friends like think she's great, right? Like, and she has this hard driving, aggressive, she's basically consumed by the job, which does make her very effective at it, but makes her miserable. And it also means that she is, like you said, riding the line of propriety in many cases.
Yeah.
So there's this bit here where she's in the room with the suspect, and she's thinking she could have applied even more pressure, and it would have worked. But if she'd pressed, she might have screamed or shouted or said something regrettable. She didn't trust herself. Silence is damning. Silence can tell just as much. So here's another one of those elements of structural, recurring, repeating itself or reflecting. So here's Lovelost, the character who can't speak without losing it, and she can't trust herself to speak. And in this case, she's using it as a well, that's fine because silence is damning, and I can get just as much out of this person through her silence.
Yeah.
But the line "silence is damning" is perfect, because later in the chapter we're going to see Lovelost be silent when she should speak up.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful how it kind of flips that whole idea on its head, right? We were talking last week during the reading of the discussion questions how so many people talked about one of their favorite structural things is what Wildbow does in interludes. And one of the things people were talking about was this idea of using interlude as kind of its own mini story with its own kind of structural, I'm not going to call it gimmicks, but rhyming. And we already talked about how the geography of the locations at the beginning and end of this chapter rhyme off each other. But this idea of silence, this idea of the damning nature of silence, is a recurring beat that goes throughout this entire story. And the meaning of it shifts as Lovelost shifts as a human being and becomes less of a human being. And I think that's such a great through line. It's such a great way to like grab onto this idea of silence as damning and use that as like a window into the change of the character as that meaning changes as she does.
Yeah, I love that. So the woman, Jen, basically what she did is she told her disabled brother to kill himself. That was why he's here, or that was why she's here. That's the crime. And I pretty much immediately thought somebody telling a monster, specifically a monster, telling someone to kill themselves. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Sound like any other monster we know?
Who is it, Matt? Who does it sound like?
Sounds like Cradle telling Rain, kill yourself. Kill yourself.
Over and over and over again.
Yep.
I love this. I'm so glad you pulled it out and made that link, because it works so perfectly. This idea of she sees this person as an unforgivable monster, not even a human being anymore, a monster, and we need to do whatever we can to make sure she sees justice. And all the while, we know she's allied herself with the person that does that exact same thing, that did that exact same thing. And the thing I love about this is, even if you make this connection in real time as you're reading, like even if you're reading along and like I think you did, I think you made that connection immediately. You read that line and then said, "Oh yeah, that's like Cradle." I don't think like the full extent of Cradle, who Cradle is and the terribleness of him and the deception that he's pulling off doesn't become clear till the end. And this like starts pushing you towards a hint of that, but it doesn't ruin it too. It's not like that moment is ruined because you immediately made this connection that Wild Doe is trying to get you to make here. I think this is a very intentional link that the story is wanting us to make between these two moments. And it works in that you enjoy it in the moment and see her, like the inherent contradiction of Love Lost as a person who's like hypocritical, like crazy, but it doesn't ruin the twist at the end.
Right, because you already know Love Lost. You already know Cradle's a monster. You just don't know quite that he's full bore monster, I guess. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I think he's chopping people up. I think we know he's a monster. I just think like she doesn't see him that way, and we're getting like she doesn't see him that way. She doesn't see him as a monster. He's the ally that's helping her, and she's okay with it. And it's the hypocrisy. I mean, we're showing how hypocritical she are.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way of phrasing it. Like we the reader do know that, but she hasn't seen the evidence that he's basically just doing this for his own reasons.
Yeah. Well, and she conveniently looks away or explains away or denies anything that gets really bad, because that's what she does, and we'll see that explicitly later in the chapter.
Yeah. So Nick internally laments that none of the people that she takes care of in the course of her job ever end up triggering and saving themselves.
Yeah, that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
I think we the reader understand the plight of parahumans enough to know that the idea of I wish these people would get powers is not something you would ever actually want to wish on someone. And so it's this coded language that I think we're establishing a certain level of ignorance in Love Lost here, that she just doesn't fully comprehend the terribleness of being a cape.
Yeah, especially since this is several years ago, right?
Right.
Like where
7, I think. Yeah.
It may have been much less obvious how fucked up capes are. But yeah, like that's so you're exactly right that on the one hand it's indicating that has a little bit of an overly simplistic view of how this works, but also this is a setup for her getting her wish in a sense later on.
Yep. When Colt triggers, yeah.
Yep. So she starts drinking at work to congratulate herself at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. It's a drinking problem, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't like. I'm very uncomfortable with labels, like with like going full out and saying Love Lost is an alcoholic. But if she's not a functioning alcoholic, she's very close, right? I think drinking at work, drinking that as heavily as she is after work, to the point where she seems like she needs it. If she doesn't have the disease, she's almost there, right?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is definitely if you're drinking at work or in a context where you shouldn't be drinking, That's a big red flag. And also just drinking to get drunk regularly,
Yeah.
um, full stop, is another, major sign of it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And I love what this is doing because we're painting a picture of this character, and she's a character who's good at her job, even if she does sketchy things to get there. She's a character who is depressed, who has a disease, who has all these flaws, right? Like she's very human. Like she wants to do good. She's feeling defeated and downtrodden by the world. There's parts of her that are familiar to some of Victoria we've seen in the past. This idea of like being so destroyed by the fact that no matter what you do, you're not making a dent. You're not solving a problem. There's always going to be more monsters out there. You can't get them all, and how that is destroying you on the inside. And so we're painting a picture of this person, and we're seeing all her flaws, and we're seeing how a person with these kind of flaws can go down a road to become the person we know she is in the present day.
Mm.
And it's like I don't like I'm not she's not a good person, she's not a bad person at this point. I think she's just a human being with a lot of flaws, and we see how you become a bad person from those flaws.
Right. I think from the moment we found out that Love Lost was a former detective, which was quite a while ago, story-wise,
Yeah.
I was really excited to learn more about this because that's just an intrinsically interesting idea to me. Like a detective is already a kind of modern superhero. Like that's like we have whole genres of storytelling that are just about detectives
Sure,
and
yeah.
how awesome they are and what they do, and their lives are already so dramatic that we just tell fiction that is just what detectives do.
Yeah.
So having a detective, break bad and become a cape, just is like an intrinsically interesting story premise, and it makes you very curious. How is that going to happen? What is, what pushes her over the line? And it's more complicated than, well, her daughter was killed in a terrorist attack.
Right. Yeah.
She was already kind of on this road in a sense where she's already having just a really rough time with her life years before she
Yeah.
loses her daughter, and that is what pushes her over the edge into villainy and being willing to hurt people and not feel bad about it.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
kind of wonder what her life would have looked like had she not triggered, right? Like, yes, she still, like, if her daughter had survived, if they weren't at the mall that day, you kind of still feel like she was, in some sense, spiraling still.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we've gotten little glimpses of her, right before Gold Morning and with her daughter, and it's just like, it's just her. I don't think we see her quit. Like, she doesn't quit, right? Like,
Yeah, that's something that I always wasn't sure of. Is she working as a cop on Gimel? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, we don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, it's just, you're absolutely right. And I think the thing that I like so much about it is, like, if we wanted to make her a unquestionably bad character, like, before her trigger, that could have happened, right? Like, there's very easy ways to make a cop, like, bad. Like, she did some shady stuff with evidence and, like, manipulation and some weird interrogation tactics that I'm not 100% comfortable with because they can lead to false confessions and stuff like that. But if the book wanted her to be, like, bad, like, she could have literally planted evidence, or she could have gotten someone to confess, gotten an innocent confession, right? Like, she could have sent someone to jail that didn't do something. But that's not what the book chooses to show us. The book chooses to show us a person who is willing to skirt the line, is willing to kind of buck against what should be good, in the efforts of doing something that she feels is right. And that to me is so much more intrinsically interesting than bad cop goes badder.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like I even think that there's a bit of referencing to Victoria when she checks with the boss before she does her little evidence switcheroo. Because Victoria is all about checking with the authorities and getting the sign off before she goes ahead with things. Basically, just touching base with other people to check that what she's thinking isn't a dumb idea. And we see her doing this here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
So there's a lot of like fatalism in her at this point, and I think it pretty much stays with her. So like she's thinking there was no beating the bad guys. There was no defeating them. A monster had encouraged a little boy to kill himself, and he tried. Now he hurt more than ever. What was she supposed to do in the face of that?
I love this. Like, it's so sad and so depressing, but it is a window into her helplessness. Um, she's this broken, kind of shitty person, but the story wants you to know why she is that way. And I can't imagine what it would be like to be a detective in a world with capes, right? Like, I mean, this is something the book doesn't really cover, but just the idea of like, how do you investigate crimes when people can like teleport shit or like walk through walls, or like how hard is it, how much harder does it become to investigate crimes? Like, I'm sure there are, you know, parahuman investigation groups that'll come in and help if it's something cape related, but sometimes, how do you know, right? Like, it's just, there's like dead person in the room, try to collect evidence, oh wait, there's no fingerprints because this person didn't have fingers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's true. Um, so I like that we transition directly from that line about like, you know, what is she supposed to do in the face of literally the last line? What was she supposed to do in the face of that? And then the next scene is she's talking to Cradle, face to face,
Yeah.
and he's the real monster, of course. And also carried across this transition, her jaw is still clenched like it was before back in the past. She had this thing where her jaw was always clenched so much that it hurt. But now it's much more clenched because of power related reasons. So unlike the previous monster, though, she doesn't know what Cradle is, and instead of fighting him, she's handing over her traps to him instead of setting them to catch him.
Yeah. Um, eh, like I love the way you said that. Like, I love the way this transitions, and it is so clever, right? Like, it is like, it's kind of on the nose, but in the best way. It's like,
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, how am I supposed to face that? And then like cut to, like, I can imagine the scene where it's like cut to just her looking right at him, right?
yeah,
Like cut to, how am I supposed to stop this? Well, I'm gonna just join it. Actually, that's what I'm gonna do.
right.
And that's the inherent contradiction at the core of her, right? Her hopelessness has led to become the exact kind of person she used to hate. She used to call a monster, and she can't see it, or she won't see it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, s- I like that, you know, we're basically backpedaling some of the bad stuff that we believed about her last time. So like, you know, she had been working on the claw whip, but she hadn't finished it, and she notes that like she had been basically implied to be intentionally procrastinating on her claw lash, so that because like she just didn't want to actually have to do that. So it's like the thing Rain was mad at her about last time. She wasn't actually going to do that.
Yeah, but it's like her justifications for things are so fascinating to me, because like, yes, you get credit for like being uncomfortable with doing this one thing, but I love that she phrases it as procrastinating. Like, she's not actively not going to do it, she's just
Right.
like pushing it off. And it's like her internal monologue is framing it that way. It's not her allowing herself to think about why she doesn't want to do this. It's not her allowing herself to come to the grips that of, this is bad. Doing this is bad. No, I'll just work on something else. I'll just push it off, I'll procrastinate. And it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's this idea that like, I'm just gonna look a different way, or focus on something else, or worry about something else, and then it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah, right. I mean, she's basically, especially in the present timeline, she's stuck in this constant like loop of trauma, and she's like never able to actually let go of it at all. Like she,
Right.
I guess it's definitely worth pointing out, and maybe we're going to talk about it more in a second. But it's just like the reason she has to wear the mask is that she will just like start screaming incoherently whenever she takes it off, basically. And it's like that's not even like really a parahuman thing. It's like she's lost it. Like I mean, is that your interpretation that it it's not that she's worried that she's going to like accidentally fire off her power. It's that she is so like traumatized by that event that even the thought of like the sound of her own voice stirs up that trauma again.
Yeah, I mean, like I think her whole her voice, her mouth, her speaking is the thing that is linked through her power to that traumatic event, right? So it's like the focal point of it all. Like it all comes through that one thing. It all comes through that one. That's the avenue to the trauma. That's the avenue to her power. It's everything. So yeah, I mean, it is not just powers related. It is just because that is like that's the core of her trauma. Is
Yeah.
this idea, her voice, her yelling, her uncontrollable anger in these moments, and how that's the reason, that's why it all comes through that. And
Yeah.
and yeah, that is manifested in her, in how we see her, you know, without this mask on, as like super like barely being able to keep it together. Every little bit, every little sound.
Yeah. Yeah. So the two of them, her and Cradle, look over March's schedule and timing. I like that because it's not like March's plans; it's March's schedule and timing.
Yeah.
Because it's March, which are all built around exploiting weaknesses of other people. For example, Tattletale.
Yeah, which does a good job to explain how Tattletale failed to detect the mercenary betrayal. Right? It's like they just observed her enough to know when she was weak or not using her power, and were able to plan around that. It's just a cool little explanation to tie that loose end up. I like that.
Yeah, true. So Cradle asks if she has any complaints, and though she does, she can't bring herself to articulate them. Instead, she just pulls out images of Rain, Seer, and the Matherses, as if to speak for her.
And yeah, so this is our second beat of like the idea of silence, right? She's in this self-imposed silence, she says, because she's afraid of what she would say, and also because, again, her voice is linked not only through her power, but through her mental block to this trauma. But this is like, I hate this. I mean, I love this, but it just frustrates the hell out of me because, like, again, she says, her internal monologue says that, yeah, she does have complaints and she wants to speak up about them, but she can't. But her internal monologue doesn't actually ever spell out those complaints, right? It's like she's like, yeah, in some vague, nebulous way, I have complaints about this, but she like can't articulate them verbally, but also mentally. Like in her own mind's eye, she cannot articulate the things she's uncomfortable with, because that would mean she has to face them. And in this moment where she's feeling uncomfortable, like where she's thinking about this idea that she's uncomfortable with this stuff, what does she do? She pulls out pictures of the monsters that she hates, and she says, what about these? What about these guys?
Yeah.
As if to say, as long as you convince me that we're still working towards taking these monsters out, I'm good. Anything you want to do, I'm good.
Yeah. Right. That was exactly how I interpreted it. Right. Like she's not saying yes or no. She's just saying like almost like, what complaints could I have in the face of, you know, our need to take these guys down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what would my complaints matter as long as this is our goal?
Yep. And that is the central, that is the core of Lovelost as a character, is these guys are monsters. As long as I believe that they're monsters, it doesn't matter what I do, as long as it's working towards them.
Yeah.
Because we've already, and I mean, we're going to see, like we've talked about her as a person who skirts up to the line, and we're going to see later in this chapter that someone was like systematically altering her to make detecting that line harder. And that's kind of why she goes down the path. But she, like, that's kind of the whole, you know, you still have to walk through the door that someone leads you up to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I mean, for example, you know, speaking of convincing herself of things, there's this bit here where she's looking at like the pictures on the display. She saw the navigators. She looked away. Had to be done. If anything, they should have done more. They hadn't expected Advanced Guard to be as capable as they were. The Shepherds had rebuffed the initial attack. So, like, on the first read through, you're thinking like, oh wow, she's pretty horrible. Like she thinks that they should have butchered even more people. But then like later in context of the lie, like you realize Cradle has told her this lie, like, oh no, the reason why we're gonna cut all these people up is so that they're out of commission when March does her thing, so that they're not actually going to be hurt, and then we'll reverse the damage later.
Yeah.
So is she thinking we should have done more because that's her justification?
Yeah. I mean, like, the thing about Cradle's lie is I don't know if she ever really believed it. I think it's one of those things where she convinced herself of it because it helped her towards her goal. This idea of hiding the truth and verbalizing the lie is where she's comfortable. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think she was very willing to accept what Cradle told her as the God's honest truth, as long as that led to the thing that she wanted, which was to get back at to bring the monsters she hates to justice.
Right. I think it was more like she was avoiding thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because even here, she saw the navigators, she looked away, which is sort of shorthand for, I don't want to think about that.
I literally, I mean, it's like, it's just, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So after Cradle leaves, she briefly takes off her mask to adjust it, and she's almost overwhelmed by surges of strong emotion and intrusive memories of her daughter's death.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier. I love the writing of this part, too, because the memory came with pain, as sure as if she'd been stabbed, not through the heart, but through the base of the throat, the point where the windpipe branched to transmit air to each lung. It choked her. So I love this as just like symbolic. We were talking about how the central source of her trauma, of her power, of her pain is her voice, is the sound coming out of her throat. So the trauma attacks her not in the heart. That's not where it hurts. It hits in the windpipe. It hits in the place where that sound, where that voice comes from. It's good imagery, and it just ties in perfectly to everything that we've been talking about her, with her power and with who she was as a person before that. I really like it.
I love that too. And I feel like this is a forte of Wildbow's is the ability to convey emotional states, full stop. But primarily, like here, this example where it's painting where in the body the emotion is being felt, and that's such a better way of making you understand what this emotion is like, to me at least.
Right.
Because emotions are very much embodied, and I feel like that's an underappreciated aspect of writing is pointing out that emotions aren't in your head. Emotions are actually in your body. You feel them. So that's great. I love that.
Well, and I mean, writer shorthand is so often like you feel the pain in your heart, and there is a certain that is true to a certain extent. The reason why that has become a writerly shorthand is because sometimes you do feel pain in your heart when you are going through something particularly terrible. You feel it here, but that's not enough for this character, right? It's more specific. It's more focused. It's more zoomed into a particular part of her personality, her character, her power. All this stuff comes together.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So she reveals that she's actually modified her claw gloves, like the inside of them, so that not only do they have like an offensive application, but also she can synthesize like the tactile presence of her daughter. So there's like phantom hair and the touch of skin and phantom hands. And she kind of like has this moment where she kind of lets herself think maybe on some level that she's like touching her daughter's skin, and then she compares herself to heroes in the Pact universe, trying to sort of make this connection with her daughter.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun little throwaway reference for you guys that have read Pact, but it also works for a person like me who hasn't read Pact. Like sometimes, like you want to throw your Easter eggs in for people that have read other stuff, but if it loses meaning in the story itself, then it's bad. Like if I didn't get what Wildbow was trying to convey here, I would have to say this doesn't work because I haven't read that story. But the point here is this idea of those people in that story, they worked with monsters for the greater good, and they were the heroes. They were the heroes.
Yeah.
So that means I'm still a hero, right?
Right.
I'm the hero in this story. That is who I am. And yeah, I'm working with the monsters for a bit, but it's for justice. It's for the greater good.
Yeah, and in just a minute, we'll see what her end game is with the working with the monsters program. So she improved her mask apparently to channel her emotion power. So now she's able to sense things more accurately at greater distances. So right now she goes downstairs and she overhears Side Piece basically trying to tell Colt that she should just bail. And Colt doesn't have the conviction to argue with her. And she thinks silence. Silence was ever damning, whether it was damning others or damning oneself, which is great writing and kind of like ties together the old Love Lost and the new and the differences between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see pretty much as my theory as to kind of how these powers work predicts Colt is absolutely paralyzed with indecision now, like permanently, basically. Like that's how she is now. Like everything she says is like a but or should I get a second opinion?
Yeah. This, I mean, I think this is like low key one of the most important parts of this whole chapter, and I think it kind of ties together a lot of the overall thematic stuff that I wanted to talk about today, because Side Piece is basically making this argument to her that she's got to figure herself out because we deal with we're all capes. All of us have horrible shit, and we deal with all of our horrible shit by ourselves. Yeah, sometimes we team up with other people. Sometimes we work with them. But at the end of the day, we're by ourselves. We're dealing with our own shit by ourselves. That's what we have to do. And I think this is designed to jump out at you, right? I think at this point in the reading, we've just had the last few chapters of the story being focused on Victoria and Breakthrough and her team and all these teams leaning on each other, supporting each other. In battle, yes, but not just in battle. The end of Arc 11 was all about Victoria helping everyone, all about Victoria reaching out and supporting these people and showing them that they are not alone in their dealing of this horrible shit. And that's, I mean, that's these main characters in the story. Breakthrough as a team is all about this idea of group therapy, right? That's where they started. That's why they wanted to get together. This idea of you're not alone with your own shit. You have other people. You have support. And that is the difference between the bad guys and the good guys in the story, right? And I don't mean like bad. I mean like actual. I don't mean like hero and villain classification nonsense. I mean like the actual bad guys and good guys. Because the good guys, the people that are getting better and the people that want to get better are leaning on each other, are supporting each other, are asking each other for help, are not trying to deal with their shit by themselves. And the people that are stuck, that are getting worse or staying the same, those are the people that aren't doing that. Those are the people that are trying to handle this stuff all alone by themselves. And that's Love Lost. We're going to see when we jump back to the past again, when she's sitting in the bar, that is her. That's what she does. She tries to deal with it herself.
Yeah, she doesn't really trust anyone or reach out to anyone. She just implodes.
Yeah. And there's this one part that I love because I think it says a little bit about Disjoint that I think is going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see more of Disjoint because we have Colt talking and she says, sometimes when you're dealing with your shit, you're dealing with it alone, you lose. And then her voice falters. And who jumps in with some words? Disjoint, who says perspective, and then Side Piece takes it away and starts ranting about it and says, and like basically says, no, that's stupid, that's bullshit. But we have Disjoint as this guy who like kind of like Side Piece, but doesn't really fit. And I wonder if he's a person that like doesn't really buy into this whole you have to deal with your shit alone thing. You know, like we kind of in Side Piece's interlude, we kind of painted him as a person who's not quite like her in some ways, who's a little different and maybe doesn't fit into this terrible group as much. And I wonder if we're like kind of hinting towards that.
Yeah, I think he seems like a more thoughtful fella. Also, I like that the guy who can take his eyes out and look at himself from a distance is the guy who thinks the perspective is a good solution.
Yeah, that's true too. I like that.
So as you know, as Love Lost is eavesdropping on this, she sees Nailbiter, and we come to understand her feelings not only for Nailbiter but for all of her underlings. Basically, she thinks they're trash, degenerates, representations of a path that she won't let herself take, and she seems like she's just planning to murder all of them.
Yep. Just another justification for why what she's doing is A-okay. No, it's okay to work with monsters because I'm going to kill them afterwards.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah,
It's
after I'm done with them.
Yeah. The thing, these justifications are so shitty and thin, right? It's great. And it's not because it's not because like I'm saying the writing is not doing a good job of selling love lost justifications. I think the writing is doing a great job of selling how shitty Love Lost is at justifying her behavior. Like, right. I think that's very intentional. Like, we know Wildbow can write a character that's super good at convincing themselves that everything is fine. We saw that last book. Love Lost is not that person. And it just, like, on some level, she knows the stuff is bad, but she's choosing to overlook that. She hasn't convinced herself that what she's doing is actually good. She's just ignoring that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think in the moment of reading that, I sort of took it at face value that she was actually planning on murdering her whole crew. But like,
I'm sure she is, but
well, on some level she is, but also like I don't think she could pull it off. Like I don't think she has the cold-bloodedness necessary to just kill these people who she spent time with, much less, she's sort of been tangentially involved with the whole using the energy whip thing, but she at least had a justification for that. This is just like, I'm going to kill these people who trust me.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing that a human can really get themselves to do unless they're already like a psychopath. So
yeah, I mean, I think she believes, I think you're right that she believes that is what she is going to do. But I think on some level, she probably knows that she's probably not actually capable of doing that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But we do get this little beat that is working towards setting up our big reveal at the end of the chapter. It gets easier every day. She has less warmth. It gets a little bit easier. She's a less emotional attachment to these bad things she's doing to other people. Just a little bit every day. It's just a little easier. Wonder why that is.
Yeah. Nailbiter, who understood her because they were very similar people at different points in their journeys, gave her the slightest nod.
I love that because it's her admitting that her and Nailbiter are the same, but she just painted Nailbiter as a monster before, right? She just said, these Nailbiter is terrible. Nailbiter is a version of herself that went too far. And she's like willing to label her that, but is unable to see that, hey, that's exactly where you're heading. And she almost seems to know that. Like, they're on different points in her journey. Like, she's not saying like we're on different journeys. We're just on different points on the same journey. As if to imply, I'm going to get there.
Yeah. Where she's like, I keep her around to remind me not to go too far. And it's like, yeah, that's not working.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So back in the past again, Nick gets good and drunk at the bar after work. She justifies her drinking and her not going home as stemming from wanting to keep from bringing home the darkness and ugliness with her. And she almost breaks down right there at the bar, talking about how Ever now isn't even surprised when her mom loses her shit for no reason. But the boys arrive before she can have a good cry about it.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the structure of this chapter a little bit, because we're doing this cut back and forth in time, right? And this is something we do a lot in this story, especially in these character-focused interludes, and we're zooming in on one particular character. We do like a cut back and forth. So it's not like a new thing. But I do like what it does, because this section was put here after the section with Sidepiece and Colt talking about this idea of reaching out, of getting perspective, of getting help, of not being alone versus, yes, being alone. And then we cut to Nicole sitting at a bar, dealing with her problems alone, and she's so fucking close, Matt. Like, you feel like the bartender is actually like getting to her on a certain extent. Like, she's actually kind of reaching out in her own way, in that she's actually like being honest with both herself and this other person and getting their perspective on things. And it's like, the bartender's like, just quit your job. And you're like, you just feel like she's maybe like this close to actually like learning something and saying that, yeah, maybe I should do that. And then the boys come. Yeah. And ruin it.
Yeah. I love that the bartender says that, because that's one of those things where, like, if you think of a solution to the character's problem, which is quit, don't do this anymore, and the character never thinks of it, that's actually frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone suggests it to the character and then they blow it off, then at least it was addressed in the story, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think like there was no way she was going to quit here because like, yeah, it makes her miserable, but like in her world, she can't just not do it. Like that doesn't solve the problem because then the monsters are still out there.
Yeah.
That's her mentality about it.
Yep. And that's kind of what the boys do. And they reinforce that idea.
Yeah.
Because in this moment of actual honesty, in this moment of weakness where she's admitting her problems to someone else and they're giving her advice and she might start to be listening to this advice, they show up and they talk her up and they tell her how great she is. They tell her she's the best one we've got. She's like, there's no detective that's as good as her. She's putting all these bad people away. I think like it is not incidental that they're talking to her and of her in a similar manner that Side Piece talks about her, right? Like Side Piece is a person in this party that like is very pro Love Lost and like thinks she's like a really great boss and like really great at leading this group and like constantly talks her up. I don't think that's an accident, but
Yeah.
Anyway, they basically serve to pull her back. Like she was almost maybe starting to consider that, and then she says, as shitty as the bad got, she could feel good about the successes, about being appreciated. Doug's praise felt genuine. It felt good. I'm not quitting, she said, absorbing it all. No quit. Don't worry. And you're just like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that comparison you drew with Side Piece because, yeah, she's got like enabler is not quite the right word, actually. It's more like just a force that encourages her to do the thing that she's afraid she should be doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really want to, but it makes her feel good. So yeah, I like that.
Well, yeah, and I think she says in her mind, every single one of these people, every single one of these monsters has a purpose. There's a reason why she's with them, and I really do feel like Side Piece's role in this group to Love Lost is to be that person that talks her up, and helps her come to terms, helps her focus on the successes of what she's doing and not the bad.
Yeah. So eventually she gets home drunk and she checks on her daughter, but then she's rebuffed by her husband.
Yeah, and then the section ends with her saying once again that this is a lose-lose situation. Either she comes home directly from work and brings the day with her and therefore pushes her family away, or she stays out and gets drunk all night so she can like numb the bad, and then she gets home really late and then pushes her family away, and it's lose-lose. Except that's bullshit. That's a false choice, right? Like you do not have two options. There are more options in there. We saw one of them. One of the other options is to quit the job. That is an option, but she won't do it. She won't do it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think maybe we can connect that to what's happening now, where in the present of the story, she's narrowed things down to what is she. I don't know if she articulates it as a lose-lose, but it's a situation where she's miserable either way, actually.
Yeah. Well, and then the section ends with talking about silence again. The silence lingered in the bedroom. That damning silence once again. This time, it's hers, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is like, at the first time, it was her silence to punish someone else, and then she admitted that sometimes your own silence damns you, but she was projecting that. That was on Colt.
Right.
It was Colt's silence was damning her. And this is a moment in which her own silence is damning herself.
Right. And which is kind of where we end up with her.
Yeah.
So we now see the fight against the Heartbreak-Siders from her perspective, starting at the point where Colt triggered. So when she realizes what has happened, she's very distressed because it's like Colt has like exited the special protected class in which Nick had previously assigned her. Yeah,
it's a great callback, like you talked about before, to that moment in the precinct where she wished victims got powers, right?
Yeah.
Well, here you go. Here's someone that you victimized and has been victimized, and they got powers now. How does that make you feel, Nick? How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Good? No?
Yeah, she manages to never really think about it in those exact terms, but like she clearly is aware of what this represents.
Yeah.
And it becomes even worse when she shows up in the room later. Yeah, like it's a rebuke her whole view of not to her view even to her to her narrative of justifications. Like, you think you're going to get out of this horrible situation by like being more horrible up until a certain point is met, and then you're going to kill everyone and then you're
Yeah.
going to get out of it. Like, no, you're already doing collateral damage. You've just done a permanent kind of collateral damage
Yeah.
right now. And like, it makes sense that like her first I don't think we're quite there yet, but like her first impulse is like she wants to kill her. She wants to kill Colt
Yeah.
for what she represents. It's like the spreading of the cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're gonna have a lot to say about that. Let's just get to it,
Yeah.
because I think there's a
So-
lot to say.
So as they're fighting, she uses her rage scream, and we see how terrible this power is to use. She relives all the worst emotions bundled up with her regrets, her tragedies, her failures, and she channels them into the power. And the attack draws her enemies to throw themselves at her, and then she and her allies take advantage of their overaggression.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. I like that she screams at the ground to like diffuse it, right? Like,
Yeah.
she screams directly downwards and it spreads out from there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. In kind of in the middle of the fight, Colt's like, "Hey, I've got blades and an emotion power and a mobility power."
Yeah. She's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah. I did it, and she wants to kill her, but it's like a misfired impulse, because it's actually like she just didn't want this to happen, and she thinks horror because she wanted to tie up loose ends and end this. She was doing this for a reason, and Colt utterly defied that reason. So basically what's happening here is trauma begets trauma.
Right. And she can't stand that.
Yeah.
The entire point is to eliminate the monsters, not create them, right?
Right.
And-
yeah.
And yeah, it's and I love that her initial like gut reaction is kill it. It's kill it.
Yeah.
Like, I created this. I made this thing. It grew from me. Kill it.
Yeah. And I mean, you can even say like she always wanted one of her victims to trigger.
Right.
And say that I did a Freudian slip there. She always wanted one of the victims that she was protecting, one of the victims who she was advocating for,
Yeah.
and trying to help. She wanted them to trigger, and now it is one of her victims triggering, but in the opposite sense of the word.
Yep.
It's someone who she put in this situation, and she's responsible for it in the worst possible way.
Yep.
And
I have to get rid of it. I can't. It destroys my whole worldview. It destroys my whole excuse system.
yeah.
And it's right there in front of me, reminding me. And
Yeah.
we didn't talk about this, but like, there is a moment here where she kind of admits to herself that like her trigger didn't count because she didn't want it. Like, in this whole like, I wish victims would get triggers. There's a moment here where she doesn't come right out and say it, but heavily implies that she wanted Ever to be the one that triggered, right? Like, she wanted in that situation, in that she wanted it to be her, and
Yeah.
now that's basically happened. Is her like Colt's purpose in this group is to be Ever, but not be Ever, right? Like, she picks someone that's like entirely different from her daughter for a reason, but like she is like that she is and isn't that role simultaneously. Again, it's like the basic contradiction of Love Lost, right?
Yeah.
And so the person that she wanted to trigger in that moment now has, and it's like, well, you got what you wished for, kind of, and now, but it's your fault. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to get even worse for her when they're in the room later, obviously.
Yep.
So before this section ends, Love Lost says they'll reverse what they did to those people before they're done. So
Excuse after excuse after excuse. It's okay to do this. It's okay to put people under immeasurable pain and trauma because we're just going to undo it. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
I like to imagine that like they're just all taking Cradle's word for it, that it can be reversed.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh yeah, this whip that severs body parts. Yeah, you just push this button on the side and it
totally.
it turns it off. It turns off the severed limb.
You whip the body parts and they just
Yep.
That makes sense.
They come back together.
Yep.
It's also a healing whip.
Yep, the old elusive healing whip.
Yep.
I love this. Like, the thing that I really like about it is Nailbiter, who we've established as Love Lost, but further along the path, basically calls her out on her bullshit because she's like, when this ends, when we're done, and Nailbiter's like, we're never going to be done. We're never going to be done. And she's like, no, it can't be. It can't be. And like, I love that we talked about this before, right? Like when we saw her talking about like this dream of going to this corner world and retiring, like we know that's bullshit, right? Because she was planning on killing all these people, at least in her mind. But it's just, we kind of thought it was weird because we're like, we just, even then, even knowing what we knew about her back those chapters ago, we didn't buy this idea that she could ever be done. And seeing that she has completely bought into this idea that eventually it's going to be over. Eventually I will have accomplished the things I wanted. I will have defeated the monsters. And it's so bullshit because she says in the beginning of the chapter that the monsters will never all be defeated. Like she admits that to herself at the very beginning of this chapter. It's never going to end. You're never going to get all the monsters. You're never going to feel like you can't quit. You can't quit. And you know you can't quit, but you're going forward anyway.
Yeah, basically a great example of a character who thinks things like 1/3 of the way through. Because like it's also possible that she's imagining like going out in a blaze of glory as she takes out her henchmen or something like that. Like just kind of continuing to pretend that she really thinks everything's gonna wrap itself up in a nice little bow. And, I think we've all been there in our lives.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I'm not like Love Lost. These are very human traits that are turned up to 11 because shards and powers and massive traumas. Like, yeah, I mean that's the thing I love about her as a character is this is all very human reactions to things. It just goes to the worst possible version of that.
Right. Yeah, I was being mildly tongue-in-cheek. Like, I've never been in the position where I needed to kill all of my subordinates. But I have been in the position where I was like, yeah, I'll study for that test right after I finish this game.
Yeah.
And then I'll still have let me look at the clock. It's only midnight, so I'll have enough time to study for like it's the thing where you're full of shit, but you're just gonna keep on whistling by.
It was like on Monday night when I knew I needed to prep for this podcast. And I said, well, no, I mean, tomorrow will be plenty of time. But Scott, you have 2 meetings tomorrow. No, I mean, but they're not that long. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it is like, that's what I think this book tends to do so well is it takes like very relatable, understandable things and then genreifies them into chopping people into pieces.
Right.
And murdering everyone that works for you.
Yeah. It's weird how relatable it is.
Yeah. Haven't you just wanted to kill all your subordinates, Matt?
Sometimes. So later, pretty much concurrent with the present, Love Lost enters the dream, and it's all different now. First, it's her dream, a memory with her daughter in a backyard birthday party, and she loses her daughter, and then she finds her crying, angry at her mother for driving away her father. And then the dream transitions to the mall and the stampede, but it's different this time. And she gets a pause, a break to say goodbye, and she says, I'm going to do my best to make sure no monster ever does something like this again. And then instead of going back to the room, instead of the dream ending with her death, it just transitions straight to Rain. But it's not what really happened. We have Rain trying to stand up to Seer, but he can't because Mama Mathers is watching. And then when the attack starts, Rain removes the lock and the chain. And then there's Cradle's dream, which is chaotic and abstract as usual. And he's being bullied as a child, and he's being railed at by his parents. And then at the mall, he seems to just escape the fallen attack before it even starts. And that's so there's kind of the obvious level on which we're going to talk about this. But I also wanted to just say, like, is it possible that this is what really happened in Rain's case? Probably not, right?
I don't think so. No,
yeah,
I mean,
I don't think so either. I was just wondering, like, is there some shard fuckery where it's like messing with their memories? But I think there's very little reason to believe that, right?
No, and I mean, like, the thing is that, like, Cradle is the one that says this dream is giving us like a vision of what we wanted. And because he's Cradle, like, we have to take everything he says with a certain grain of salt. But I think he could be accurate here, because I don't think he was expecting, in all his plans and all his maneuvering, I don't think he was expecting that to happen. Because, I mean, there was no way any of them could have known that Colt's entrance into this room is, presumably Colt's entrance into this room is going to change how they perceive the dreams. But he does like, and we look at it as this idea that Colt says, this idea that or Cradle says rather, this is what we wanted. It becomes really interesting, right? Because we see in Love Lost Dream, she doesn't see the death, but it is still like heavily implied that it happens. But like, she doesn't save her daughter. She doesn't like Cradle just walks away, right? But not in Love Lost's version. She just gets to say, she just gets to tell her daughter, like you said, I will make sure that no monster ever does something like this again. And so when you look at that in the frame of what Love Lost wants the most right now, it's more justification, right? It's using her daughter as a justification for why all this is okay. Because I made a promise to my daughter, and therefore I have to keep it. I have to keep it. And that means that I can do all this stuff. That means that it all goes back to that, and then it's okay. And Rain's dream is really interesting, because Rain's guilt was that he froze. He didn't act. He didn't try. He didn't he didn't take the chain off. And in Rain's version of the dream, he does that. He takes the chain off the door. The door opens. But they all die anyway still. And so what does Rain want most of all? He doesn't want to feel guilty.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the guilt of knowing that he didn't act. And this version of events gives him that in a fucked up kind of way, right? It's like, even if you had taken it off, even if you had opened those doors, it wouldn't have mattered. So don't feel guilty anymore.
Yeah, it's even like it gives them the antidote to their problem.
Right.
Like, it takes away Rain's guilt. It takes away Love Lost's rage. You could argue.
Yeah.
And then, so here's the thing: Cradle, I don't think we've really seen his dream, and we don't really know what he did in the mall, what happened to him in the mall.
Yeah.
What we see him do here is he like sees the Fallen come in, and then he tells someone, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, then what did he did he leave without telling someone before? Like, is that the and by telling someone, what is he giving himself? You know,
right.
Is he give? So it's there's kind of a complicated, like, trying to reverse engineer what Taylor why did I say?
There's a Freudian slip for
full
you.
Of Freudian shit slips today. Yeah.
Are you saying that Cradle and Taylor are equally bad, Matt? Is that what you're saying?
I must be. Yeah, that must be exactly what I'm saying. So let's talk about that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting derailed talking about the Cradle dream issue, but like, clearly this is going to make sense to us later. We're going to come back and we're going to see this dream, and we're going to be like, yep, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it all works into this framework of like what their issue is.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that the text is designed to make you want to reverse engineer that, right? Like, we have 3 people, we know 2 of their dreams, we know what the changes in those dreams are, and then so you see the 3rd one and you want to be like, all right, so what's going on here?
Yeah. Like, I wonder if Snag would have like saved the girl he was trying to save, you know? Like,
right.
Not
I mean, so he tells someone in a shop, but he doesn't say that was because Snag was Jonathan, right? That's his name.
Right.
He was he owned a store, so he was in a store. Yeah. So he doesn't say that was Jonathan, the person he told before he walked out, but maybe that was Jonathan, and like, he gets out there earlier and is able to. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what we saw coming happens. Colt is in Love Lost cell with her, which is just so perfect.
Yeah, not the 5th cluster member. She doesn't replace Snag. She doesn't replace that hidden room. She's a bud of Love Lost, so she gets to hang out as buddies in that part of the room.
Yep, and literally this way, Love Lost can't be like, oh yeah, I guess the cluster was looking for another member. It's like, no.
Yeah, this is all you.
This is you. She's your responsibility. So she goes in your cell.
Yep. And also that means every night. Not only does she have to relive the death of her daughter, she also has to be in a small enclosed room with the person who she turned into a monster.
Yeah.
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 So
yeah. Okay. So Colt doesn't know that she's not supposed to talk to Rain. So Rain is able to speak his mind to help introduce her to the room. He mentions the Mama Mathers factor that was present in the dream, but Lovelost is still resistant to having any sympathy for him.
Yeah, resistant, yes, but the vision combined with him talking to Colt kind of puts a little chink in her armor, right?
Yeah.
Like suddenly for the first time we see a Lovelost that isn't quite as confident in her diagnosis of monster for Rain than she was before, right? Like we see it kind of like, wait, hold up. And of course Cradle is doing the same thing too. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe this might indicate that you're actually not as bad. And you're like, okay, Cradle. Like, okay. Yeah, sure.
Right. This whole time I've been wrong. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so devastated
Right.
that I was just so wrong.
And it seems like he already starts kind of playing that up before the lights start dimming.
Yeah.
Because he knows what's coming. So yeah, suddenly the lights in her pentant, gonna bring that word back, start to dim, and Cradle already has an excuse for this. He's like, there's two of them, and they're draining the energy too fast. That's all that's happening.
And it's really like, I mean, props to him for thinking on his feet, because he wasn't expecting Colt to be there, right? Like he or he didn't know, or he didn't fully understand. And so like it's like an excuse, like a think on your feet excuse that like immediately falls apart because Rain's like, cause he's like, yeah, it'll probably just end in half the time. And Rain's like, has it been half the time? He's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Moving along. Yeah. And so like as soon as the dimming starts, Lovelost's first thought is to be suspicious of Cradle. And it says her hand slammed against the invisible barrier. And she screamed. They didn't seem to see her. A face on the wrong end of one-way glass. Yeah,
this realization, right? This wonderful realization that, oh, holy shit. Like, I love how she says, like, there were some people in my life I just wasn't good at reading. Like, I never got a read on Lee, my ex-husband. Oh, wait a minute. He has oh, fuck. And then she's on the side of the glass. She's on the same side of the glass that the monster was at the beginning of this chapter, right?
Yeah.
Almost as if, Lovelost, you're the monster, Lovelost.
Yeah.
It's you. Yeah. I mean, Cradle is too, obviously, but it's wonderful imagery. I love it so much.
Yeah, me too.
And now her silence is forced, right? Like now she's speaking. Now she's finally willing to speak and scream and try to stop it. But now that damning silence is forced onto her.
Yeah, there's almost a satisfaction, but it's stifled. It comes with her. Like she's finally just screams and lets loose.
Yep.
She's been holding it in this whole chapter, even from way back in the day. And now she finally screams, but it's
too late.
Yep, it's to no avail. Waited too long. You compromised too much. So Lovelost further reveals that her understanding of March's plan is that she wasn't gonna actually trigger the time effect. It was just fake.
Sure, Jan.
Yeah, right. And Rain's like, and you're gonna chop them to mincemeat. That's like how you're gonna. And Cradle goes, no, to disable them, to force them onto the bench, that if something did happen, they wouldn't get hurt in the time it took us to step in. And she thinks truth, except now she didn't believe him.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, love. And then Cradle offers Rain his coins, the tokens of the Tinker Power, and Lovelost realizes that they're really Cradle's way of eroding the warmth and empathy of his cluster mates. And she thinks the most galling part of it all, the fallen boy had never been given anything until now. No bleed through, just him.
So there we go, Matt. The bleed through is real. It exists. And it was right in front of our faces, and we just didn't see it. I love it, though. Like, I'm kind of glad I didn't guess it, because I think it made this so much more satisfying.
Yeah.
I love this reveal. I love how this works. I love how this ties everything together we were talking about. Like, there was this central problem where we, like, we really wanted, I think we wanted to feel good about Rain's progress. So like we as readers, and I think all the characters involved wanted to feel like Rain had made progress. He's doing good. And this idea of a personality bleed would kind of take that away from him, right? It would like take that agency away from him, that choice, that change. And now we have a way of these two things existing simultaneously. That it is true that there is a bleed of emotion, a bleed of personality, but he didn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm actually, like, I found this to be an incredibly effective cliffhanger. Because so the cliffhanger is she watched, waiting for her chance, waiting to see if the fallen boy took the coins that would steal his warmth. Whether he did would determine who she gave her teeth to. All her power for the day and dangerous, reckless rage. I thought this was a great cliffhanger because I'm like, I've been like scared of Rain succumbing to the cluster somehow, like the whole story, right? Because he's like, at first we were like, oh no, is he gonna like become the bad person he used to be? And it's like, no, I no longer think that's a big risk. But now there's a new risk, which is Cradle kind of contaminates him with his coldness. And it, yeah.
And I love how the dream kind of maybe sets that possibility up, right?
Yeah.
That just this idea that like one of his things like, oh, this dream is really fucking with my head. And it's like, yeah, because maybe it's giving you the exact kind of release from the guilt that you wanted. It's like, no, I think you need to feel that guilt still a little bit, like not forever, but to just have this dream erase it and then have these coins further remove that. Yeah, you're right. I'm terrified for him. I hope he doesn't take them. I hope he's smart enough.
Right. So I want to talk for a second about the idea of like coldness and like taking away the warmth. Like to me, what this says, and this doesn't quite sit right in my mind for some reason, so I'm not 100% sure, but basically like the idea is that Cradle is like a psychopath, like a completely cold-blooded person.
Yeah.
And the reason he's so furious at Rain is that when he says you took me from me, what he means is that like the bleed through with his other cluster mates, he got some of their qualities and he actually felt like loss and regret and things like that.
Yeah, it made him actually feel things. Yeah. I think you're right.
So and now, you know, he wants to basically get back to the place where he doesn't have to feel any of that stuff anymore.
Yep. I think you're right.
Okay.
Before we move on, I know we've been on this chapter for so long. It's ridiculous how long we spent on this one chapter. But I want to talk about this idea of the power. Like, this is why I love this so much, because I think it ties into so many other things we've been looking through our breakthrough characters. The power that you get erodes your humanity, right? And this is something we've kind of seen for a while with these characters. Like there was a moment in last week's chapters, I don't think we highlighted it, but where both Ashley and Damsel were take aim and fire some of their blasts, and Damsel's hits and Ashley's misses. And this idea of Ashley made a choice, and that choice led her down a path of hopefully recovery, of becoming a more balanced, whole person. But the consequence of that is her powers don't work as well anymore, right?
Yeah,
The same thing with, you could argue with what's going on with Sveta right now, that except kind of in the opposite way, that like the suit, the body she had that she got is inherently less effective at
superhuman violence.
Yeah, right. So it is a trade-off, right? Is this idea of maybe outside of body form, she's more effective at being a parahuman, but she's less of the human that she wants to be. She's less on that road to recovery. And I think that kind of same thing falls into place here for Rain. This idea that getting those tokens, getting that extra power, like Rain has always been the guy who was kind of the shitty parahuman, right? Like at the very beginning, that was his thing. He just wasn't that good. And he's gotten a little better because of the snag stuff, and he's just a more confident, better all-around person. But like the idea of accepting the more power erodes your humanity fits everything we're talking about here. It fits this central idea of parahuman powers as trauma versus recovery. You know, like it just, I love how that, like, and it makes the coins, the tokens, as a stand-in for the idea of the personality bleed like works so well, and I love it. That's why I love it so much, because it just ties into everything.
Yeah, I love this through line that you've drawn where I think almost all of the members of Breakthrough actually qualify as being people who, the more they indulge in their power, the more they use it all out, the more it makes them less the person they want to be. I mean, certainly, Chris is a very complicated example because of how he chooses to frame things, but Victoria is another one who fits this, where like she avoids using the wretch as much as possible because it even though it's arguably her strongest power, it reminds her of the person she doesn't want to be.
I mean, Kenzie too, right? Like her power is creating the exact type of things that lead her into trouble on her path to recovery. I mean, I like framing it around Capricorn is a little complicated, but I mean, here's my loose framing on this one that I don't know if it holds up, but I'm gonna say it for now. This idea that their goal, their solution for recovery is like to hopefully not have to share a body anymore, right? And that would like inherently make them less good as parahumans, because like you could argue that one of the most effective uses of their power is the ability to swap between those two different forms, like to be able to swap the water to rock and then rock to water inherently makes them better capes, and that's like away from like their ideal end goal is, hey, we are in two different bodies again. So you can make that's a little more thin.
But no, I like that. I hadn't thought of that. Because then it would just be Mr. Water Cape and Mr. Rock Cape, which they're fine, but the ability to switch between them is obviously really excellent.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it kind of fits with Love Lost too a little bit here, like even pre-Cape Love Lost, because this idea that like she's sitting there in the bar talking and everyone's telling her how good of a cop she is, how good of a police officer she is, how effective she is, and you want to chase that power, that ability to be good at this job. Well, what are the consequences of that? The consequences of that are your family, are, it's destroying you, but you're still chasing after it. And I love that so much.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to 12.3.
Hey, it's been a long time that we're on that one chapter.
Worth it, though.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back with Victoria in the aftermath of the power surge that knocks out everyone's parahuman abilities. Victoria has fallen hard into the midst of the grid of mines, which promptly shock her with a power that makes most of her body seize up and may have temporarily stopped her heart.
It's always fun when you start your chapter with your protagonist basically dying.
Yeah.
It's the most Victoria thing ever to be. Her heart is literally stopped, and one of the first things she thinks is, time of death was given at the moment of the flat line, the arrest of the heart. Was that, am I dead already? It's like Victoria. It's just such a Victorian nerdy, like practical thing to think of in the moment of your heart stopping.
Yeah, it really is very, it's hard to put my finger on why, but it feels very on brand.
It does, it really does.
So Victoria struggles with her physical situation, giving us snippets of awareness of how the fight is proceeding around her, as various team members defend themselves without powers against what are, in many cases, still formidable opponents. Victoria is just lying there making this distressing, high-pitched whine due to the clenching of her body.
I'm not really sure why I loved that detail as much as I did, but I really did. This idea that like she has such lack of control of her body that she's making this high-pitched whine, and she hears the whine before she even realizes it's herself. And like one of the dogs like is called over to her because of it. I think it's really, really great.
Yeah, right. I want to think forever about why that is, because I agree that touch is awesome. It's like she doesn't see herself as being the type of vulnerable person who would make that sound, and so it doesn't even occur to her until she gets some other evidence for it, maybe. So her power gradually turns back on in tiny increments, her flight giving her just enough power to let her stay on her feet, her force field breaking against the slightest force. And as she writes herself, Swan Song asks, or perhaps commands, help. And then when she comes over, Ashley says, give me your body.
So on top of driving all the Ashtoria shippers on the internet absolutely crazy, this is such an important moment for Ashley. I love this so much. We were talking about this idea of being alone, solving your own problems, dealing with yourself versus this asking for support, asking for help, your community. And that's exactly what Ashley is doing here. She needs help. And yeah, she's commanding, but not, she's pleading too. I love that it's like she labels it a command and then a plea, and then a plea because she's good at group therapy, but no, a plea because she cared enough that she wanted to help Sveta so much. And like at the end of the day, this is why I think Breakthrough is going to win. Like this, they're going to win this conflict, and they're going to win the world. I don't know, whatever the climax of the story is going to be. Why are they going to win? Because they're together.
Yeah, I agree. This is especially a fantastic moment for Ashley.
Yeah.
Just made me so happy, and just the image of the two women hobbling their way towards Sveta, with Ashley blasting the mines out of existence as they activate, and Victoria kind of like unable to use most of her body, but just acting as like a physical crutch, just like kind of pathetically, but like determinedly trudging forward, while Sveta is being crushed by a K-53 that looks like a rook.
Yeah, maybe it's just because I watched Detective Pikachu trailer like 6 times today, but I was like, I Need a Hero was playing in my head as they're walking across the map, like destroying mines and stuff. When I reread this chapter for the last time right before we started, that was just in my head and I couldn't get it out. It was amazing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Chevalier moment where he's like dying of radiation sickness and like horribly cut up, but he's still like marching forward one step at a time to fight Behemoth.
I got a question for you though. Were you worried about Sveta in this moment? Because I was kind of surprised to feel not that worried about her. Like she's having this rook guy like beating the crap out of her. But I was like, nah, man, this isn't how Sveta goes out. Not like this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think of her as being really durable, and I know the text said that he was like crushing her like face and like the organs behind her face. But I'm like, but isn't she? Like, I don't know. I guess I just thought she was durable in general. I know her tendrils are like extraordinarily durable, but I just kind of figured she was pretty tough.
Yeah, my girl not going out like this, Matt.
Yeah.
Not like a chump. No way.
No way. So it's a very unusual and awesome fight as everyone just kind of like inches forward, their powers very slowly kicking back in. So the feel of the whole fight is this like herky-jerky 5 steps forward, 4 steps back struggle against like failing powers, terrain, mines, partial paralysis, incoming glass bombs, and Paris projectiles. And that's even before the winged K-53 engages.
Yeah, so I kind of like this fight for its... I mean, I don't necessarily think it was trying to be goofy, but I just imagining like no one can like walk really well. Like Victoria, like her arms are like still like she doesn't have control of her muscles. She describes some of her movements as like moonwalking, and it's just like I think I was just like so in need of like a pressure release. That even though the stakes in this battle are high, and even though it's going to get super serious super fast when she stabs someone in the neck and then someone is actively drowning while we're negotiating, there are moments in this battle where I just kind of enjoyed the silliness of it a little bit, and that felt a little refreshing to me.
I think anytime that your heroes are being like utterly pathetic, there's a bit of relief to it.
Yeah.
It's hard to... I think I've said this like multiple times on the podcast, but like the reason I think Harrison Ford was a great action star is because he's continually pathetic and getting his ass kicked. Like he's not kicking ass, he's getting his ass kicked, but he's still struggling through despite that. So this is like the physical descriptions of how completely fucked up everyone is, yet they're trudging forward. They're pushing forward. That's kind of the feeling that I had there. The Harrison Ford feeling.
Yeah, moonwalk to victory, man.
Exactly. Just like Harrison Ford.
Yep.
So at a certain point, her force field has come back somewhat, but it's actually mostly skin tight.
Yeah, but it's kind of what she wants, but not really what she wants, because it's like, oh, good, it's kind of skin tight, but oh wait, there's a vague Victoria head poking out of it, and it's just like, oh god.
Yeah, right, and it's super weak too.
Yeah.
Eventually, she excuse me. Eventually, she kicks a shower of dirt at her opponents, which prompts the two sides to start talking shit to each other. So Victoria and Swansong bring their mouth game, mocking Etna for being a crappy shot, and then going hard on the "you guys are okay with cutting up kids" angle.
Yeah, and I think this is again why the tone of this battle seems a lot less like dour than some of the other ones have been for me, because they just start shit talking each other, and it's just like the classic Swansong shit talk, and she's really good at it, and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's the classic Swansong shit talk, and you feel like Victoria and her are almost like volleying. Victoria's much more like angry. Swansong is much more doing the self-aggrandizing villain thing, but yeah, I mean it just works. It just works really well.
Yeah, I mean it's so fun to see them like they were physically supporting each other, and now they're like emotionally supporting each other and like pinging off each other with their smack talking. It's great.
Yeah. So then when Contender tries to enlist Vulture Hawk to attack Victoria, who he refers to as Goldie, she begins to taunt him, reasoning that somebody with his power probably has an inferiority complex about this kind of thing. And then Swansong easily tag teams with the taunting.
I mean, so we're starting to see a trend here, Matt, of switching from fighting to talking it out, right? Like I think Victoria was like talking about how frustrated it was that this kind of stuff never works, that the trying to talk the villains down doesn't ever seem to work for her, but she always tries it. There's always a moment in these fights where she's like, okay, hold up, let's stop this, let's like or like let me try to use my words to manipulate you into a situation that gives me an advantage here. And I think that's great. Like that's such a very Victoria thing to do, and I think it adds a dynamism to the battles a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great aspect of her character that she always rolls social, even though she has like a -1 in social.
Hey now, why does she have a -1?
Because she fails at it pretty consistently.
This means her dice is bad. It doesn't mean her.
You know, I don't know that it's true that she fails at it pretty consistently. Maybe
I think she feels like she does, but that's Victoria.
Yeah, and she's often in situations where it's just like, no, that was never going to work because you really have nothing to offer. Like your opponent wants to fight you. You can't talk her out of it.
Yeah.
Byron then drops a swimming pool on everybody, and Victoria and Swansong mostly evade the impact.
So
then,
he launches it up into the air, right? Like he makes the water go up. What was your read on that? Was he just trying to get it like cold and come down? Like instead of coming down in a group, it was like going to come down and like in a wider area, and it'd be colder because it went way up first.
Yeah, it's a good thought. Like maybe more of a spray and less of a like massive concussion that crushes bone when it hits.
Yeah, he didn't want. Yeah, I don't think he wanted them to all like be like wiped out and washed away. He just wanted to make them all super uncomfortable because it's freezing cold water.
I think he also wanted to just cover the whole terrain with his water so that he had the option of switching out and trapping everyone in it.
Wouldn't it be a good trick to turn a giant swimming pool of water, shoot it up in the air, and then turn it to rocks and have like little rock spears rain down on everyone?
I mean, yeah, but it would probably kill like everyone. So.
Well, you know, I'm just hypotheticals, man.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he could have tried it, you know.
I mean, his brother's in half, so I don't think he should be switching out at all right now. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know, being in half never hurt anybody.
It literally did.
I don't know. I've had worse.
Really? Really? You've had worse? Please explain the situation in which you had worse than being chopped in half.
So then Victoria grabs a mine out of the ground and throws it at Etna, nailing her and causing her to fall face down in the water. Thus begins the heroes and villains playing chicken over whether they're going to just let Etna drown.
I think we skipped the part where Victoria stabs someone in the throat.
Oh, did I?
I think so.
That
seems important. Victoria stabs someone in the throat.
Yeah. So first, Victoria gets in an ugly brawl with Contender. First, like inside his domain for a minute until Swansong blows apart the arena, and then she stabs him in the throat with her needly finger things,
like several times.
Yeah, as she used every part of her armor, I think like as an offensive weapon now.
I think she has. It's pretty great. She's resourceful. Yeah. There's this moment here, like she's decided to kill people, right? Like she's made that decision. They're going forward with it. But there's this moment when you're like, oh God, did she just kill him? And the book, I think, almost knows you're going to have that reaction because the first thing that happens is that one of the case 53s is like, no, she didn't get any arteries. You'll be fine. and you're just like, I was just like, oh, thank God. Like, cause I understand that like a death here would be completely justified in some of these cases, but that doesn't mean I want Victoria to do it. I don't want Victoria to have stabbed some guy into the throat until he bleeds out and dies.
Yeah, right. I don't know if I feel like Victoria is going to end up killing somebody at some point in this.
You're probably right.
This,
yeah.
like, and it's gonna fuck her up.
It's really gonna fuck her up.
She is not like really grappled with like the implications of that, especially like for someone like her. I don't know, man. We'll see. Yep. So there's that and a drowning thing happening now.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, we're talking about how the silliness of the combat, and just because there are moments in the combat that feel silly doesn't mean we have a full a full.
It's not a caper. Yeah.
No, like it gets serious fast, and it does here.
Yeah. Yep. So I love how Paris thinks that Contender is a worthless piece of shit. But this is all conveyed subtextually, like just like in how he looks and like how he's like silent and staring at Contender when he says things.
Yeah, and he keeps us trying to get Contender to stop talking, and he just won't. He just won't do it. Yeah, it's really great.
And then Prancer and Moose finally reach the scene.
Yes.
And Victoria again tries to undermine the resolve of these two, hammering in that the people they're working for cut up kids. With Moose, she emphasizes how this isn't him. He's not a violent guy. Prancer doesn't even seem to need much of a push. He's like looking for an excuse. I mean, he was the guy who set up Hollow Point in the first place. Like he wanted a civilized way of doing things, a way of being a villain safely. He's basically the villain version of Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't take much to persuade him to negotiate. Actually, he's all about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really. I think let's just get through this and then talk about it at the end, because we need to get his moment, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, finally they agree to trade Sveta for Etna, and Sveta slips away. Victoria and Prancer come to another deal. The heroes will leave alone anyone Prancer names, and he'll tell her where the real bad guys are. And also a lot of money.
Well, you got to get the monies.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a villain, come on. And Etna says, if you thought it would be any different, you were lying to yourself. This is the default, the way things are staying. It's the best we get. Fuck that, Prancer snarled.
My boy.
And then everyone in the world fist bumps.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously that is a very direct callback to the moment very earlier in the book when someone wrote in big letters. I think that was Hollow Point, right?
It was in Hollow Point, which makes it even better.
Yeah, where they wrote, "This is the way things are now," and Victoria says, "Fuck that," and that like starts her whole journey to stop the bad things from happening, to go on this whole journey she's been on. And yeah, now we have a character who was instrumental in Hollow Point, who's one of the people that set it up, also having that sentiment, also rejecting the idea of this is the way things are now, that this is the default, this is the way they're staying. It doesn't have to be this way, and he rejects it. And I'm not going to sit here and call Prancer like a good dude. Like, he did some real bad stuff. Like, he definitely sold drugs to kids, and I think hooked up with them, right? Like, he was sleeping with underage kids.
Yeah, he insists that they weren't underage.
Okay, sure.
I'm sure he checked.
Yeah, I'm sure he checked their ID, got a birth certificate. And yeah, I mean, Prancer and Moose are not like good people, but they're not the level of bad that the people that we've been dealing with for the last few arcs are. They are still people that like, and there are people that like, once again, going back to this idea of community, idea of being together, there are people that were just looking for a place. Moose especially is a person that's just looking for a place to go, to belong, to be part of something, and not in like, he didn't want to be alone. He doesn't want to deal with the shit by himself. He just wants a winter camp,
right?
Winter camp.
That's like that made me the happiest of anything in the world was Contender saying you're fucking us, and then Prancer replying, "You're fucking us. How's Moose supposed to have his adult summer camp?" And it's like that's they're not the greatest guys, but they fundamentally want everyone to be safe.
Yeah,
like they don't want anyone to be hurt. I think that they both see the things that they do as being harmless, right?
Right.
And Like just a little good fun. It's just some drugs, guys. Just
Yeah,
some drugs.
it's just some drugs.
As we know, drugs are great.
They've never hurt
To
anybody.
quote the hero of this entire story. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like, I am so fascinated by like what we see. Like, we had this villain gathering, and like some of the villains went really extreme, and then we have Love Lost and Cradle and March, and which are like super extreme versions. But just because those people are here doesn't mean there are villains that have given up on the idea of not mass murdering everyone.
Yeah. Can I say, like, I'm so happy because, like, I felt like not when we last saw Prancer, but when we saw Prancer leaving the Fallen Attack, I was like, oh, okay, now begins the evil Prancer arc. Prancer becomes super bad. He's gonna cross all the lines because there's no point anymore, and his plan failed. And it's like, no, like, this is still the same guy. He if anything, he's like chastened now. He's like, we tried to go after some people and kill them, and that was obviously a mistake. I was right. We should have just stayed in Hollow Point. Like, if anything, he's like doubled down on it. Yeah, he's real been out of shape about his girl dying, but that hasn't. If anything, it's steeled his resolve for his plan.
I love that you brought that up because I remember that conversation. I remember we were like, oh God, is the lesson that Prancer's going to take away from this that he can't be the person, he can't be this person anymore? He has to be a terrible version of himself? No, that's not what we want to happen. And we see here that it's not, that he rejects this. He is given a choice here and he makes the choice. And I'm like, our characters are not out of the woods yet, right? Like, there's still a lot of bad stuff going on and they've still got a lot more fights ahead of them. But, for the first time in a while, I'm feeling pretty good about their chances.
Yeah, me too. So the chapter ends with the joint hollow break point ciders, beaker point ciders.
The hollow beaker break cider points is what you wrote down.
That's what I wrote. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I think we need a simpler name for this gathering of capes.
Yeah. Well, we'll workshop it.
What's like the word for like a group of capes? Like this group of animals. We need like a murder of capes.
Yeah. So anyway, the hollow beaker break cider points turn their attention to the village of capes ahead of them. And that wraps it up.
That is it. There we go. Good chat. I can't wait to see what happens next. We might get another normal chapter and an interlude chapter in the next week. We don't know. Everything's fair game.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right, so let's get some community spotlight going on.
All right.
So last week, if you recall, everyone, it was episode 100 of We've Got yeah.
So I guess first off, we should say thank you for everyone who congratulated us on the 100th episode. We did really appreciate it. And so, Matt, we did this thing where we asked this question, and I thought
the question was...
Oh, yeah, we haven't even read the question.
Yeah, what was your favorite episode of We've Got Worm/Ward?
Yeah. So we asked this question. I was like, this is a good question for this moment. What I didn't think about was this, that we're basically saying, hey, you, people, say nice things about us. And then we're going to come here on the show and read all the nice things about us, which is like the most self-absorbed thing in the world. So like... We're going to read these questions because you guys took the time to answer them. We want to, show you our appreciation for that. But this makes me very uncomfortable. I just wanted to say that. I like pulling these questions. I was like, oh gosh, I feel so awkward. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So now you get to enjoy that.
Yeah. This is great. So let's just get started. Lots of answers here. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
All right. First up, we have Sarah Penguin, who says, I'm just going to say my favorite thing is when Wildbow does something subtle to make me think about something or feel something, and then the podcast explains exactly how he did that. So I get to enjoy Worm again and learn something. Also, Imp's Fire Axe is both funniest moment and best character. Matt, I was going through and listening to some of our old episodes this week, and I got to the Fire Axe part. And I just want to say... You failed me.
I know.
You said not a word. Not a word. I know you were thinking it because you were silent. So in your head, you're like, does he think the axe is really on fire? But you didn't say it. Not only did you let me say it, you let me publish it, you let me push it, and you let me sit there and listen to all these people make fun of me. So at the end of the day, your fault.
It is my fault, but I created a legend, so how can I feel bad? I think in the moment I was like, was it a fire? I thought it was just a fire axe, but maybe no, I don't think so. And then the moment passed, and then I forgot about it until the
until
next
we
day.
Started getting comment after comment.
Yeah, forever. Yeah. Scandiaca Blessing says their favorite episode was Sting Part 2. The characters of Theo and Golem, I placed them separately because so does he, are among my favorite parts of Wildbow's works, especially the culmination of this arc, the fight with Jack. The discussion involving that fight was my favorite. Also, that episode has the best comedic moment in Scott's inevitable vindication, re containment foam. Keep it up, guys. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I forgot about that too. And I don't think we got copyright flagged on that one, so that can stay, right? Because you're going through the episodes. And
I think so. Yeah.
I love that. I loved that so much. I need to put more sound effects in this show.
Yeah.
It's the lesson I've learned about this.
Yeah. Me too.
All right. Lone Wolf says the episode covering Arc 1 of Ward. We did get some, not all of our answers were about Worm. Some of them were about Ward. Specifically this bit from the family barbecue all the way through the Wretch reveal. They especially liked thinking about how far Victoria has come since the beginning of the story. She's not over it, but she's doing way better these days than she was at the start of the story. I'm really proud of our Vicky, guys. Me too. And I'm pretty sure that this section of the podcast is going to continue to age like a fine wine. Thank you, Lone Wolf.
Thank you. Yeah. EXE JPEG was fair. Says favorite. We've got Ward episode has to be when you covered Victoria's reaction after almost killing Amy. You just seemed so in tune with the character just then. She won't leave. She'll never leave because leaving would be the right thing to do. And there she freaking is. Which I guess is what's funny is I don't even remember which one of us said that.
I don't either. I don't know. We might have tag teamed it. I honestly don't know. But that was. Yeah. I loved that moment too. Like there are moments when like I'm reading stuff and I'm like, I'm not sure what to make of this. I'm not sure if I'm reading the character right. And there are moments in the story where I'm like, yeah, I've got it. I've got exactly like I'm confident in what's going on with this character, and that was one of them for me. So I appreciate that. All right, Roundest Frog says one of the best parts about We've Got Warmed. That's a pretty good combination of the two, is having a chance to hear other people's thoughts, feelings, and reactions. It gives me insights I never caught myself, a chance to recap what happened over the last few chapters, and of course, it lets me watch others react to what emotionally agonizing events Wildbow has conjured up. Past that, you're both wonderful hosts for the podcast. Matt's typically very calm and very good at analyzing, while Scott's more energetic and tends to talk about the more emotional bits. There's clear contrast in both of you, but you're similar enough to mesh extremely well as co-hosts. Finally, there's a way you act as part of Wildbow's community. I don't get super involved in most threads on the subreddit. I'm not part of the Discord, but the podcast gives me a chance to interact with others in the community, both by sharing my thoughts and hearing others, whether through these threads or you two talking about said thread at the end of each episode. Whew, that was a lot. Thank you, Roundest Frog. I mean, Matt and I were kind of having a conversation about like the kind of kismet of the idea that we both generally approach stories in a similar way, but we do have different personalities. So like we look at stories similarly, but we come at them from different angles. Yeah. You know? And I think that's part of what makes this interesting.
Yeah. We're never just like, no, I think your take makes no sense at all, actually.
Yeah, but dumbass.
But very often you will say things that I never would have thought of just from a perspective where I'm just like, oh, I don't think of it that way. But now that you've said that, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's super valuable, and I appreciate that about this. Firidian says I'd either say Sting Part 2 because of how deeply you delve into what Taylor does to Aster, or Migration because it helped me better appreciate an arc that I initially didn't enjoy because it felt like a distraction from the real meat of the story.
That makes me feel good because I really did enjoy that arc, and if it made people like it better, that's great.
I mean, I think I've said this before, probably ad nauseum, but all of the like interlude arcs in Worm, I just like super blitz through because I wanted to get back to Taylor's story the first time I read it. So those are all things that I appreciated much more, and then became like my favorite parts of the story afterward. Yeah.
All right, Anti-Chris says their favorite episode of We've Got Worm is the next one, because the fact that there is another one is coming means we're still on this journey together. Aww. This horrifying journey. And they also say, God, I hope someone murders Cradle soon. Oh, but Anti-Chris, people are going to get mad at you. Believe me, you use the word murder. People don't like it.
It's true.
Trust me on this one.
You should never use that word.
Yeah.
Calinero says, I think my favorite episode is probably Arc 8 Extermination from Worm, partly because that arc is one of my favorites, but hearing you guys get to geek out about the sudden kaiju horror mixed with our superhero story, the major plot developments, Tattletale interlude, there's just a lot to like. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a lot of people's favorite arc of the story, and it's I think a lot of people's enjoyment of our show is just like us literally reacting to stuff they like. So
I mean, I have very distinct memories of being like, "There's fucking kaiju in the story now? What?" So yeah, I think that's very understandable. Skints says Queen Part 1, the episode in which the term "why butt" was created. Need I say more?
Fair enough.
You know, man, I'm gonna be honest here. I kind of regret doing that. I kind of regret it. Not because I regret any of the things I said about Taylor, but I regret, like, I think We've Got Worm, the journey through that story is a journey of us learning what it's like to have an audience. And there are moments in which I don't think we handled that very well. And I think that's one of them. I mean, it started as a fun joke, and I appreciate that, like, everyone now, like, sees it as a fun joke, and not many people take it actually seriously. But in the time, it was really just agitating people in a way that I probably shouldn't have done.
You know, I think that what we didn't realize was that just because we created a meme doesn't mean that we control the meme.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Got out of control. 301 Plus says, I find myself repeatedly coming back to Infestation Part 2, where all the Slaughterhouse 9 interludes are covered. This episode is the spark that set off the We've Got Worm We've Got Worm for me. The episodes beforehand were good, but they felt like they boiled down to two guys analyzing Worm. This episode felt like Scott and Matt analyzing Worm. I think this is when I began to feel your enthusiasm for the story, and it's where you both really came into your own on the show. And then they say that our episode followed through from there, and we were just awesome for all the rest of time. I like this answer a lot because, like, I couldn't tell you when I feel like it came together, but it makes me want to go back and like listen to this one and see like what was there something special about this one that was different.
Yeah, I mean, and I think maybe there's definitely, you can like see a line of us getting better at what we're doing and kind of figuring out what the story and getting more comfortable. Like the thing that I realized when I was like going back and just picking through some of the old episodes is like how much more emotive we both are now. Like just with like, we're so much more comfortable in front of the mic. Like there's moments where I'm doing silly things on the old shows and I can like hear the embarrassment in my voice. Like I'm afraid to fully commit to the thing. And I don't feel that way anymore because I've sat in front of this microphone so many times. And I think that's part of it is getting to a point where we're both comfortable with the format, comfortable with each other, comfortable with ourselves. And maybe that's why that was about the time that we got to that point, at least for 301 Plus.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
Next up, we have Hero of Old Iron, who says they're pretty torn between Sentinel, Sting Part 2. Lots of Sting Part 2. It's a pretty pivotal chapter, or arc, like chapters. Extinction, since they cover my favorite bits of Worm, but in the end, they have to go with Gestation for kicking it off. Which is really nice because I generally feel like that's the worst one because we didn't know what we were doing. So it's nice to hear that.
Yeah. Classic Todd, it's a great username, says, I used to tell my girlfriend who hadn't read Worm about your intros. I just loved them so much that I had to share them. And to do that, I had to give all that context you needed to enjoy the gag. And it was this that eventually made her read it. So I have a soft spot for those.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Then there are favorite moments within episodes. Scott's love for the Imago arc, the Sentinel arc that's centered around Weld. There is a reason why I still look forward to every episode of We've Got Worm. Ward. Yes. of those many favorite moments, the one that for the moment might take the crown was when Scott realized he would just never find out what the deal with Sleeper is. It was a moment of profound Schadenfreude that I will forever treasure.
I'm glad you're enjoying my misery.
Yeah, I like to think that Schadenfreude is a big aspect of our value proposition here.
I think you're right. I think you're right. All right. Next up is Wanson, who says, "I'll go with the one where you apologized for ever doubting that Byron is best boy, because that one really stands out in my memory."
I assume he means me.
I don't remember us doing that.
Well, I think there was a certain point where I was like, okay, I'm now going to stop.
Oh, your
joking.
chocolate stuff. I get it.
I'm going to stop joking that Byron is the secret villain of the story, because he's been entirely stand up and awesome and great, and it's ceasing to be funny. Yeah, that's what I remember actually.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. Proudly Arrogant says, at the first episode, and sorry. At first, favorite episode seems a tough question, and then I remembered, look what you made me grew, and the path was clear.
Oh, Matt, you had to remove that from the YouTube video today. That makes me so sad.
It really made me upset. Yeah, I had to, because we're trying to clean up our YouTube copyright situation, so I had to trim that out.
Yeah, thanks Taylor Swift.
Yeah. So, but it's always going to be on the podcast feed.
It will always be on the feed. That is correct.
Yeah.
Next up, Expert Eye Roller says, when you made fun of Taylor's antics on the TV show in Arc 25 of Worm, I honestly missed the joke during my first few read-throughs, but your commentaries had me howling. Can I be honest here?
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. I don't remember what happened in that part, really.
Well, that was her being like super robotic and wooden, but of course she's Taylor, so she thinks that she's doing fine and everything is good. Yeah,
you're bringing it to my memory again.
Yeah, where they're like, welcome, and she's like, yes, thank you, you too. She doesn't literally say that, but it's like that kind of humor. Yeah. Stelhex says, my favorite episode of We've Got Where are the ones where I'm in the community spotlight, especially if it's one of the times I made an on-the-spot ontology. Yeah, those are always the best. And then we keep using them forever. And they say, it feels good to be appreciated. I know you guys have said that one of the things that surprised you most about We've Got Worm was the enthusiastic response. So thanks, not just for making a cool thing that we like, but also paying it forward, so to speak.
I like this answer a lot. I like that it's honest and it's great. And I like that not every answer we had to read was one talking about how good we are. It's like, this guy likes when the community spotlight section. I think that's great. I'm glad people like it.
Yeah, me too. And I like actually portraying this show as paying it forward, because like I mean, this is I don't know if I've ever said it in these terms, but like I loved Worm so much that I was like, I want to like pay the universe back for this.
Yeah.
So that is part of the motivation for this,
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal from the very, very, very beginning was allowing people that enjoy this thing to maybe find some more stuff to enjoy in it, right? Or to teach you why you enjoy it as much as you do. Because that's the eternal question for me. That's the question I ask every time I walk out of a movie I like, every time I finish a book I like. The question is, why did I like this? Like, what did it do that made me like it? And that's the question I want answered. And so we were generally like, let's answer this question and hopefully answer it for other people as well. So,
absolutely.
All right. Last but certainly not least, we have Stuck in Reddit Factory, who says they've emerged from their highlights re-listen of We've Got Worm. Work was really slow, so they've been listening to a lot of it. And they wanted to say that I'm surprised to find out that my favorite episode is the very first one, Arc 1 Gestation. It's shocking how much Scott pulls out of the first arc based on nothing more than the correctly placed trust that Wildbow is a talented author with something to say, and the forethought to say it with nuance, alongside knowing Matt enough to see the approximate type of thing that would attract his praise. And of course, Stuck in Reddit Factory goes on. It's a very long, very, very nice post. We can't read it all because it's really long, but they posted it in the Discord, and I like blushed for like 20 minutes, and I felt really uncomfortable because it was so nice.
Yeah, basically they point out a lot of individual prediction, like things that you picked up on that were. I mean, when I look at at all of the things you picked up on, even the first episode, I'm like, yeah, you really did kind of nail a lot of the elements that we just kind of that remained relevant throughout the story. So it was a good first episode in maybe not in terms of us being organized or audio quality or
Oh,
anything like
yeah.
that,
I
but
mean,
it was
that's
good in that way.
I really appreciate this, and I know Stuck in Reddit Factory is not the only one who said the first episode, and like I look at that thing and the audio quality is so bad to my ears now that I can't listen to it. So it's like I've just kind of written that off as like we can't like delete it because it's the first one, but like I'm just like I write that off as the bad one. And it is, and the audio quality doesn't remain like it remains bad for a little while. It slowly gets better, but it's really nice to hear that because like my general like my headcanon of our thing was we just started off and people just liked it because there was something to listen to and we didn't actually get good for a long long time. So it's nice to hear that. It's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, Scott, is that we're going to be doing the We've Got Worm remastered, where we just
My God.
redo every episode.
No, in my monster of a mind though, I was like, it would be fun to do after Ward's complete to just do an arc by arc Ward analysis. This popped into my head, and I was like, Jesus me.
Because I don't know if we've said enough.
No, we haven't. We just haven't.
And then, so that's all the responses to the discussion question. There's, of course, Megafire's Carol essay of the week. I think you had something specific you wanted to talk about here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a 3-post long massive essay that Megafire wrote. You guys should go check it out on Reddit. But the one thing I wanted to kind of zoom in and focus on is something that he said that was very apt that I actually really liked. That I think like you and I kind of circled around, but we didn't. I don't think I got there fully. And one of the things he pointed out was the idea that like we have Victoria and we have Ashley, and they're like leaning on each other and supporting on each other, and kind of on the wings is Carol and Damsel, and these two are kind of representative of the a person that either one either were or could become, right? And so like Ashley and Victoria are sitting here watching a possible version of themselves duke it out in a ridiculous kind of absurd way where they're just being completely unreasonable and stupid and annoying and completely dismissive of everyone else's feelings around them. And it's a great way of seeing like how they've come together to become something else. And here's on the wings these other two people that they could have been but are not because of not just their bond as friends, but their community and their whole group, the group therapy.
That's awesome.
And I just really liked that. And the whole essay. It's great. Read it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love it. Yeah, go check it out. So discussion question this week. I'm going to do that thing where I ramble for a second to contextualize it before I ask it.
Okay.
So like in like a very entertaining aspect of Wildbow's style is how he shows the character working out the problem solving aspect of combat. Like in this chapter, Victoria's powers were knocked out. So there's a lot of detail and her thought put into like, okay, how is she going to address this complicated problem battlefield, especially now that her power isn't really working. There's a lot of this kind of thing there's a lot of this kind of thing in every Wildbow story, actually. Now that I think about it, it's kind of a focus actually of how he thinks about action, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that being said, what is your favorite example of a Wildbow character creatively problem solving? Yeah, that's it.
I think there are going to be a lot of examples of this if I had to guess.
Yes.
Matt, we forgot to do that thing where you told me your favorite episode of We've Got Worm. Ward. I told you had to, and you were supposed to spend all week preparing.
What's funny is I had so one of my so something I really enjoyed re-listening to this week was the episode where it was the Ward's arc Sentinel. And first of all, I just love like the subject matter of discussing all the different wards from their points of view. I just thought it was a really good arc, and I was really happy with how we discussed it. And I really enjoyed the Guess the Cape game where we go from Pigot's folio on all of the cape ratings of the capes in the city, and then you try to guess which cape is which rating, and you did it up with like a game show sound effect thing and like game show music. That was, I think, I don't know. I don't know if I can say a favorite, but that's going to get like a big honorable mention. There's been a whole bunch that I really enjoy doing for a lot of different reasons. I always enjoy my Nilbog intro just because I got to be ridiculous, but like that doesn't make it my favorite episode, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my answer.
I like that. We need to do more stuff like that. I think we become so busy that I don't do this like bonus like sound effect stuff, but it's like going back and going through the stuff, I realized like how often we did that in the other show, and I'm like, man, we should do that.
Yeah.
I was so ambitious, and then I had more time then. I don't have as much time now, but yeah, that's a good answer.
It's true.
I like Spec.
Yeah.
My favorite episode of ours is Spec. It's because I'm a sentimental sucker, and I think I loved how we discussed the end of that episode. We put in the entire last chapter, we put music playing over all of it.
Yeah. And
it worked out really well, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That was another one of my favorites, definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, sorry, I derailed us. Yes, the discussion question once again is, what is your favorite example of Wildbow character creatively problem solving on the fly?
Yep. And that's all we got for you this week on We've Got Ward. You guys are all part of this show, so feel free to provide us with advice, questions, or thoughts on this week's reading.
You can reach us via email at gotwormpod@gmail.com or on our Twitter account at gotwormpod. Make sure you follow that Twitter account so you can be notified of when March's Madness starts. My personal Twitter is at ScottDaily85, and I said today I need to tweet more, and then after doing it for like an hour, I was like, nah. And Matt's is at MoreDinamail.
Yeah, and if y'all have been using that hashtag We've Got Dice, Twitter just like suddenly decided to show me a bunch of stuff from that hashtag that I hadn't seen before. So, yeah, sorry about that.
See, but, here's the thing with it.
Uh-huh.
Twitter automatically goes to like top when you search for a hashtag, and you have to switch it over to all instead of or latest, so you can see them in chronological order. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but
okay. Well, I'll sort that out, and yeah. So please keep using that hashtag for the Weaver Dice campaign.
Yeah, we will get you your names in there.
Yeah. If you're not already subscribed to We've Got Ward, we strongly recommend you do so and never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else in the world you can listen to podcasts.
And as always, you can find all the other shows we do over at our website, doofmedia.com. Matt, we've got a new book club this week coming out this Friday, so if you have read or still have time before Friday to read N.K. Jemisin's The Fifth Season, you can join us Friday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time for that book club. Please join us. I love doing those. They're so much fun, and the more people that are there, the more fun we have.
That's right, Scott. And if you like any of our shows and you want to support them, consider donating to our Patreon account, patreon.com/doofmedia. You can donate $1 a month or whatever else you can afford. Supporting us on Patreon gives you tons of great bonuses like voting in our quarterly fan art and costume contests, Q&A sessions, access to live streams of our recording sessions, and our excellent Discord chat. And this week, special thanks to new Bidoofs, Florian E. and Brendan H., both at the $1 level. Thanks. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
And as always, make sure you head over to Wildbow's Patreon, patreon.com/Wildbow, and donate to him as well. This is his world. We are just playing in it.
And if you cannot afford to donate to us right now, that is absolutely okay. There are tons of ways to help us out. You can share the show. You can head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and a review. This week's review comes from Hopefully Less Pretentious, who gives us 5 stars. And I know you guys were not tired of us reading things where people say nice stuff about us. So here's some more from Hopefully Less Pretentious. This podcast taught me how to analyze. I've never really been particularly astute when it comes to picking up on subtleties, nuances, and themes in the media I consume. We've Got Worm changed that. The analysis is so accessible and understandable that it's changed the way I read. That's the highest compliment I can give, though there's plenty more things to say about it. That's the highest compliment I could get. I thank you so much. Like, that's amazing. That's like we were talking about it before. That's what we want to do, right? Like if we can help people appreciate the stuff that they read more, then that's everything.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of speechless, which is not great podcasting content. So,
Well, all you have to speak now is the end of the show. So
yeah, I can say thank you, and then I can say, all right, that's all for this week. Next week, we'll be back with more of Arc 12 Heavens.
what's it gonna spell, Matt? What are the arcs gonna spell?
I don't know.
What's it gonna spell?
I don't know if that's the thing.
Zebra. It's gonna spell zebra.
Zero.
Zebra.
Zemo.
Zemo. Like Baron Zemo?
Like Baron Zemo. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Man, crossover.
Yep. Exactly.
The greatest crossover.
No one saw it coming. Click and stop now.
Oh, God, we gotta get these episodes shorter, man. I say this every week.
We can't keep doing this.
We can't keep doing this. It is like going over and listening to old episodes of Worm, though. It makes me realize how like we did it. Like I was listening to Sting 2 today, and it's just like your whole part for the one of the big fight between Golem and Jack is like, and then they fought. And then we just talk about it a little bit, and then we move on.
Makes sense.
Ah,
all right.
Thank you, Aaron. I hope it was a good show. I think the amount of time spent on each of the chapters reflected that I had a lot more to say about the first one than the second one. Are you gonna be able to figure out how to export it and everything? Are you good?
So here's the thing. I have a WAV file. Do you need it in MP3? I guess you need it in MP3. Right?
Actually, no. Give it. It's going to convert it to WAV anyway. Just save it as a WAV file and put it up there.
So why are there three? I'm trying to figure out why there's. Yeah, that's my tests. That's not. Yeah, so I'm just going to drop that. Then we don't have to waste time processing.
Yep. Don't know why I didn't think of that. It's because I'm dumb.
I've been doing a lot of digging in the folders and stuff while doing the Weaver Dice editing. So
I agree, Peter. The Love Lost chapter was amazing. I really loved that chapter. You know what I should have done? I should have pulled the negative review we got for today, so then we could cap off all the people saying nice things about us with someone saying a mean thing about us.
Yeah, our first ever non 5-star review. Yeah. I don't know if that's literally true, but might be.
That's true, Sarah. That is true. Do you see what she said? It ended as a Love Lost episode with an extra little bit on the end. Yeah, I mean, I love Victoria, and I love what Breakthrough's going through, but I had so much more to say about one than the other today. That's okay.
Yeah, it still ended up being over 2 hours. The 1-star review said it was a 2-star review.
It was a 2-star review, which was
even
amazing.
Yeah, do you happen to have it at hand? It was.
I can get it real quick. I made a reference to it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It says, "I'm gonna read this dramatically."
Okay.
I tried. I love WBP, which I'm guessing is like Wilbo Pig, or I don't know. And the Parahumans world, so I was excited to find this. But I just can't. I listened to them talk for 10 minutes about how excited they are to talk about their analysis after reading 2 chapters. I really did try. 2 stars. We earned 2 stars. I mean,
yeah.
Heck.
I mean, I will be the first to say that our content may not be for everybody.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like.
But maybe you don't need to give us the review though. Yeah. Just don't say anything. I mean, seriously, like just.
Well, I mean, the most hilarious part to me is that like we've started to do like the timestamp stuff now, so I like know exactly how long each of the segments of the show is, and when he says 10 minutes about how excited we are to talk about that episode, my guess is that he's talking about that like that part where I go, Matt, what did you think of these 2 chapters? And we talk for like 30 seconds about the chapters as a whole and like what we're excited to talk about. and it's like it's not remotely 10 minutes long. Like I know the timestamps.
Yeah. I'm just like, look, if you're not down for people talking about these stories at great length, then don't listen.
Sure. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I fully admit that so many people that read this book do not care about analyzing it at all. That's totally fine with me.
Yeah.
I just loved. Like, I tried so hard, and I tried so hard. It was like, oh, you're so brave.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we're gonna read that on the show. Like, I don't want to be a person that like only reads the good ones, you know, that feels disingenuous to me. It's just like this one I read tonight was one that like was from weeks ago that I hadn't gotten to yet. So I try to go in order of received.
Oh, I wish you had saved that rendition then.
I can recreate it, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've never tried harder at anything in my life than I tried for making it 30 seconds into this podcast.
Just watch they like come back to it and listen, and then they never change their review.
Yeah. I just think it's like you said when I showed it to you, it's like a kind of a compliment because they still gave us 2 stars.
Right. Yeah, it's like
we earned those stars.
They didn't hate it.
Did you put this up there?
I think so.
Is it track 1005?
Is that it? Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. There was a reason why I didn't change it.
Have all you guys listened to the latest Weaver Dice episode? Speaking of having dramatic music playing during a speech.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the reactions to that one.
Yeah. Michael sent that to us because Michael actually, full disclosure, Michael actually recorded that after we finished our session. I think the episode just kind of ended like abruptly.
Yeah, well, it ended at the end of what you see him saying before the speech, because we were like, okay, that's a perfect cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And then he went and he wrote the speech.
And then he put I don't know if you guys noticed, but he put the Papyrus theme song in there from this SNL skit that he's currently obsessed with.
Yeah. So good. Which is the only music for that podcast that I haven't done.
But it worked. So
yeah, it's true.
All right. Hey Matt, you know what I just realized? Looking at my calendar, we don't have a doofcast for this week.
Alrighty.
We've been talking about doing some things, right? We had some ideas for things we wanted to do. I can't think of them right now.
I can't think of them right now either.
Oh, Matt, you recorded in stereo.
Regrettable.
Yeah, there's a button apparently.
There was a button. I think it's probably going to be a higher quality as well. And your, by the way, your levels are perfection.
Good. Yeah, I couldn't breathe through my nose today, so hopefully that didn't come through too.
I saw someone say in the chat that Matt looks confused, and I think it's just like Matt's not feeling well.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I'm not really that badly off, but I'm also not doing great. Borderline, we'll say.
No, not Undertale yet. We try not to do 2 of the patron produced episodes in a row because it gets too much for us. So, speaking of which, Matt, you need to start playing Undertale.
Oh yeah,
like today.
I knew that.
And by today, I mean Wednesday, not Tuesday.
Okay.
Because that is what's next, and then we have to talk to Kira about. Because I think she said she wanted to change what she wanted it to be, but I couldn't tell if she was joking or not. So I just need to reach out.
Okay.
And we're not starting the new deconstructing series just yet either. I could have sworn we had a couple like general purpose, like general idea shows, like the narrative one or the unlikable protagonist one that we had been bouncing back and forth, but now I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, no, that sounds familiar. I think I remember it. I think I remember that conversation.
I need to like keep these on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Yeah, I think we have that, but
yeah, but I don't think we've updated it recent enough to include that. Hey Matt, you messed up the Deep Impact page on the website, and by you, I mean me.
Oh yeah, how did I do that?
Well, you copy pasted a different page, and you didn't update the RSS feed.
I see.
You idiot.
That sounds like me.
Yeah. How dare you?
I know. I'm sorry.
You should. What was so funny to you, Jay? Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's like, why isn't it centered? Yeah, if you found something we said funny, then you're definitely just tired.
It was funny. Oh no.
Yeah, you're definitely just tired. Why is it taking this long to apply a compressor to your thing, Matt?
I don't know.
3 minutes? What the heck?
I don't know.
What did you do?
I don't know.
Why? I really hate...
I think it's just really high res.
Should be the same as mine, though. I really hate... not Libsyn. I really hate WordPress sometimes.
Yeah.
I really hate... How do I get to the visual builder for this freaking page? That's all I want. Because I can only edit this thing on the visual builder. I can't edit it on the other builder for some reason. That would be a lot more convenient. This is all your fault somehow.
I know. I talked to my guy who works at whatever the company is of the thing that you're talking about.
Wait, say again?
Nothing. It's not that was nothing. Let it pass. It's dead.
Matt, you hooked Skinths on StarCraft 2 again. It's all your fault.
Yeah. Well, the way I phrased this is that I was like telling you and Michael and Daniel, like, man, I'm really struggling with my StarCraft addiction that has started up again recently since I got my new computer. And your response was, hey, let's have a big StarCraft tournament with the doofs.
So you're saying that we enabled you? Is that what you're accusing us of?
I think I'm strongly implying that.
I am insulted. But yeah, you're right. Hey, I'm not even playing StarCraft, man. Just the announcer game.
It's true.
Why? I have so many episodes of this podcast open right now, and it's really making this difficult. Next time, please name your track.
There was no time.
Please name it the episode number, Matt.
But I always do. I thought that I would have accrued enough credit that I wouldn't have to do it anymore. Isn't that how it works?
Yes. Wait, no.
No.
Hey everybody, welcome to We've Got Ward, a Doof Media podcast series where we expertly dissect and discuss Ward, Wildbow's return to the world of parahumans. My name is Matt Freeman, and we're just having a conversation. No pressure.
I'm Scott Daly, and I'm not going to say a damn thing without my lawyer present.
Fine.
Oh, no. Should help her. Matt, what did you think?
Ward.
Yeah, okay. Whatever keeps my lawyer present.
Sure.
I'm Scott Daly.
Conversation. No pressure.
I'm Scott Daly.
Noise.
Go away, noise. I'm pretty sleepy. Not get a lot of sleep last night.
Yeah. I've been for like I like never have insomnia, but I've had insomnia this last I don't know. Few like month or so maybe. Which obviously impacts my podcasting.
Wait, say again?
I've just had insomnia recently,
Oh,
which is very unusual for me.
yeah, that's rough. I don't know if I've ever actually had insomnia.
Well,
Like, I've
yeah, I don't
stayed
either.
I've stayed up late, but I always feel like it's a choice. I always feel like I'm not unable to fall asleep. I'm just like, I want to stay up and read this or watch this when I should be sleeping.
Yeah, this last it's been me just lying in bed for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I think I've had that every once in a while, but I've never had that like chronically, right? Where it was just
Yeah.
not just like a one-off
Right.
bad day.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to say it's chronic certainly, but it's been annoying.
Wildbow says they haven't been sleeping well for an age now. Well, that's because you stay up all night writing. Like, literally all night. I mean, I'm not complaining.
I'm not complaining, but we do worry about you.
Exactly. He says his writing brain doesn't turn on till midnight.
Ah. Yeah, that's neither does mine.
Oh my god, I hate websites. Whose bright idea was it to get a website?
I don't know. Not mine.
Fixed. That's awesome, Jay. I need to find out when I spontaneously become good at doing things. Jay says they spontaneously become their best artist at 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems like something that'd be good to know.
Yeah. We could plan around it.
Yeah.
And so it always like, I know this has nothing to do with anything, but like, you know how the new YouTube dashboard like shows your latest video as compared to your last 10 videos?
Yeah.
And like, it always makes me sad because like I upload Vow to View and it's like obviously the worst performing out of all the latest videos, and all I see is like red and down arrows. Like,
Yeah.
oh, thanks.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, why do you have to do it that way?
Yeah. Can't I like compare it to, I don't know, like something else? Without my lawyer present.
Fine. Hey, I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, there's the Love Lost chapter is something I think we've been looking forward to for a long time, and it does not disappoint. I have less to say about the Victoria chapter this.
That's how I like to motivate myself.
So we'll let you guys know about.
All right.
And
that's how I like to motivate myself.
So we'll let you guys know about all that. Oh, when that stuff happens.
Yeah. Also announcement. All right.
And
that's how I like to motivate myself.
So we'll let you guys know about all that. We'll post if you want to look out for when that bracket's going to appear and when the voting and stuff is going to appear. Make sure you follow our account on Twitter at.
Sorry, I talked over you here.
And
that's how I like
on the show.
But the realistic goal is Monday.
All right.
And
that's how I like to motivate myself.
So we'll let you guys know about all that. We'll post if you want to look out for when that bracket's going to appear.
Figure out how I can fix it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to cut what you said.
Ward.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever keeps us from talking.
All right.
And
Yeah, you can get creative here. Here we go. Time to get creative. Oh, oops, that was wrong. That was wrong. Abort. Man, can you imagine if like programs didn't have undo buttons?
Yeah, it's really nice how Audition particularly handles that. Actually,
Yeah, I love it. Because I accidentally delete stuff all the time.
yeah.
Like I just deleted literally all of your audio.
Yeah, it can undo like anything. It's kind of impressive, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Was Monday.
All right. That's how I like to motivate myself.
Boom. Now we don't interrupt each other.
Was Monday.
All right. That's how I like to motivate myself.
Yeah, and so we'll let you guys know about all that. We'll post if you want to look out for when that bracket's going to appear and when the voting and stuff is going to appear. Make sure you follow our account on Twitter at GotWormPod, and you'll know when that stuff happens.
Yeah. Also, announcement: we dropped an episode of. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah,
For the record, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the episode, we have moved on from the talk about how excited we are to talk about it portion of the episode. And a minute and a half of that is the intro music and our introduction. just FYI. The intro's 30 seconds. The intro music's 30 seconds. Then we talk for roughly 45 seconds. So we talked at most a minute and a half.
Time for us to submit our rebuttal to that person.
Mm-hmm. Sadly, we can't do that. Not that I would. Matt, did you see that I turned off emails for YouTube comments?
I did.
Are you proud of me?
Yes, that's going to make a big difference in our lives.
Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah,
the person that's currently going through We've Got Worm is generally like very knowledgeable and smart. And so even when they disagree with us on stuff, they're like arguing their points well. But there's just too many like random like, what the fuck are you talking about? For a 2-year-old video for me to be getting a notification about that.
Yeah.
So we don't anymore.
support the idea of calling this person a monster.
Yeah, and I think there's a subtext to it.
Yeah,
Check on that later, everyone. So this chapter begins where love lost.
We'll see. We'll see.
My thought is just it's messing with this thing, and we'll have to figure out at the end of the arc what exactly. Yeah. One thought is shorter episodes, maybe breaking up a given recording session into a couple episodes.
I think it might just be in my head, but you do sound
Yeah, we'll experiment.
better today.
I'm kind of happy with where
Okay.
with what it is and where it's going. I just want it to be more often, and I think so do you guys, and we'll try to get there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Scott, let's get into the chapters.
All right.
It might just be in my head. All right, so Matt, just so you're aware, we started chapter 12.e at 5 minutes and 18 seconds into the podcast.
Okay.
You want to know when we finished it?
It was like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of watching the clock.
So I want to talk for a second about the idea of like coldness of this through line that you've drawn, where I think almost right. I want to think forever about why that is, because that's help. And then when she comes over, Ashley says,
Yeah.
cool.
And it kind of fits with Love Lost too a little bit here. Because I love that so much.
yeah. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to 12.3.
An hour and 22 minutes and 28 seconds is when we shift to 12.3.
Yep. Feels reasonable.
Wildbus says 5 minutes to get to chapter start. I see you cut that 10 minutes excited to talk about lead time in half. Yeah, that was thanks to the very helpful comment we got. We managed to cut that right in half.
Yeah. We're being pretty aggressive about our. As you can see, we're being pretty aggressive about cutting down time on our show.
Yeah, totally. We've been over 2 hours for the last 3 episodes in a row.
Classic Todd and JPEG was fair.
To be fair, we were at an hour and 40 minutes when we got into the community spotlight.
So we asked this question. I was like, this is a good question for this moment.
If anything, it's steeled his resolve
Yeah.
for his plan.
Like, our characters are not out of the woods yet, right? Like,
Here, for insiders.
the hollow. There we go.
Yeah.
Good chat. I can't wait to see what happens next. We
Me
might
too.
get a.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right, so let's get some. All right, so let's.
We started the community spot. We talked about the chapter for 20 minutes. That was what I perceived was going to be the length we would talk about chapters when I first envisioned the framing of this show. Was 20 to 30 minutes on each chapter, and then 30 minutes on other stuff, and then an hour and 90-minute show every week. That was what was in my head. Didn't work out.
No.
Appreciate the stuff that they read more. Then that's everything.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of speechless, which is not great podcasting content. So
Well, all you have to speak now is the end of the show. So
yeah, I can say thank you, and then I can say, all right, that's all for this week. Next week we'll be back with more of Arc 12 Heavens.
what's it gonna spell, Matt? What are the arcs gonna spell?
I don't know.
What's it gonna spell?
I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's the thing.
Zebra. It's gonna spell zebra.
Zero.
Zebra.
Zemo.
Zemo. Like Baron
Yeah.
Zemo?
Like Baron Zemo. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
man. Crossover.
Exactly.
The greatest crossover.
No one saw it coming. Click and stop.
PETA says, hey, you kept it for 20 to 30 minutes on We've Got Worm. It's true. We did.
Exactly.
The greatest crossover.
No one saw it coming. Yep.
Man, crossover.
Exactly.
The greatest crossover.
No one saw it coming.
Boop. All right. I think it's. Let's just see. There was a time when my computer made a noise. I wish I had written down when that was. I don't know why my computer made a noise.
Fair. Says favorite.
Oh, I was looking. Oh, I remember. Okay.
Have the silliness of the combat, and just because there are moments in
The villain version of Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't take much to persuade him to negotiate. Actually, he's all about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really. I think let's just get through this and then talk about it at the end, because we need to get it gets serious fast. I mean, we're talking about how the still.
In this,
You're probably right.
This,
yeah.
like, and it's gonna fuck her up. The weapon
I
now.
think she had resourceful, right? Like, God, like, because I'd be justified until he bleeds out and dies.
Yeah, right.
Someone in the
Okay.
throat.
Yeah. So first,
Did you lose?
No, I won. It was just the 23-minute
Be
game.
switching
So
out at all right now, but I'm just saying,
yeah, being in half never hurt anybody.
it literally did.
I don't know. I've had worse.
Really,
Um,
really, you've had worse. Please explain the situation in which you
So-
had worse than being chopped in half.
So then Victoria grabs a mine out of the ground and throws it at Etna, nailing her and causing her to fall face down in the water. Thus begins the heroes and villains playing chicken over whether they're going to just let Etna drown.
I think we skipped the part where Victoria stabbed someone in the throat.
Oh, did I?
I do wonder what would happen
Yeah,
if
it
it went
seems
back
like
to
that.
Worm.
Victoria
Yeah,
stabbed
with, like,
someone in the throat.
current
Yeah. So first Victoria
analysis
gets
eyes. I bet we would take like 14 hours to talk about each arc.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think it's like we've become less disciplined. I think it's like we just notice more things.
I think you're probably right. I mean, I think I know you're right.
brawl with Contender.
Times.
Yeah, as she used every part of her armor
I think
like
she
as an
has.
offensive weapon
I
now.
think she has. It's pretty great. Like did she just kill him? And the book, I think Victoria to have stabbed some guy into the throat until he bleeds out. You're probably
in
right.
this,
yeah.
like, and
Why
No,
can't I
but
find
I'm just
this
saying,
moment my computer
yeah,
made a noise?
being in half never hurt anybody.
it literally did.
Yeah, right. And it's super weak too.
Yeah.
Victoria's much more like an Ellen thing, but
Right.
yeah, I mean it just works. It just works really well. There's a bit of relief to it.
Yeah.
It's hard and getting his ass that. So
Yeah.
this is like the board.
Yep.
And it's super weak too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Victoria's much more, but
Each other and
I give up. There's just going to be a computer noise in the episode.
Yeah, I didn't hear it on my end, so
Yeah, you wouldn't. It's you can't. It's like the same reason you can't hear if I play music right now.
gotcha.
That's like you're very tiny compared to a very tall Victorian.
Is there how much later do you think you're gonna be working on it? I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna play another game or what.
The Mixdown's got another 9.5 minutes before it's done, so
Maybe I'll do some
at least that.
some of that. I'll do some MTG Arena, and you can all make fun of me for how bad I am. Or I could play this new. No, I'm gonna play Apex Legends, and then you can make fun of me for how bad I am.
Matt playing freaking Battle Arena games. It's so embarrassing. What are you, a 13-year-old? No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. Enjoy your game.
I know. I mean, I wish. I honestly, like, non-jokingly, I'm just like, hey, I'd love this game if it were a. Man, I'm tired. What's the game type where it's a death match? I love this game where it's a death match. Why does it have to be battle royale?
Yeah.
Like why can't you have multiple game modes?
Well, that's that tweet that I retweeted, right? It was like,
Right. Yeah.
I would love Apex Legends if you just started with your guns and then after you died, you respawn somewhere else on the map and the person with the most kills wins.
Yeah. Right. 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 That except not joking.
Matt, how many times did you watch the Detective Pikachu trailer today?
I don't know how many times I watched it today, but probably 0. Is there a new trailer?
Yeah, there's a new trailer.
Okay, well,
Do you want me to copy like your whole big paragraph on your discussion question, or just the last bit?
just the last bit?
Okay.
All right, now I'm gonna watch the new trailer.
See, because it's Deadpool, but also it's Pikachu. It's like you're doing a live reaction video, except the people watching it can't see the thing you're watching, which
You
is
see me smiling.
amazing. Arc 12 Heavens Part 2. Oh, I forgot to... Oh no, I removed it. We didn't talk about Everlyn and her name.
Yeah, we did forget.
She's a gift from God. She probably has nothing to do with heavens.
No. I guess, yeah. You can still bring it up next time.
Yeah. I mean, Love Lost is definitely totally dead, right?
Totally. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
So I made a joke tweet about the X-Men poster, about the random 2 characters on it.
Yeah.
And I got 4 responses, and 3 of them are people that realized it was a joke and were also making a joke.
That's my favorite.
And then my brother-in-law just answers it legitimately.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that guy.
Michael Cohen's testimony on Trump. He is a racist. He is a con man. Thank you, Michael Cohen. We didn't know. I worked with him for years. I'm only saying this now because I got caught. All right. Home stretch.
All right.
And by that I mean 3 minutes and 8 seconds. Have you started playing the game yet? Because if so, no one can see it.
I had to restart my password. Restart my password. Yeah. Reset my password.
Did he really do that, Wildboat? That's insane. Apparently Cohen, part of his testimony, said that Trump directed him to scare high schools and universities into keeping, I guess, his grades quiet, maybe his kids' grades quiet. It's freaking psycho.
Yeah. Absolute psycho.
Trump's grades and SAT scores, because I bet they're just dreadful.
Yeah.
But how's that possible? He got into a good school, right?
Yeah.
They don't let you into those schools without good grades. Right?
Of course not. You're so cynical.
Last arc, I was having blinding by the light stuck in my head every time I worked on Ward stuff.
Uh-huh.
Now it's heavens is a place on earth. Every time I'm doing stuff and I write the word heavens, I sing it in my head. Every time.
Yeah, my brain does that too. Not for that particular thing, but gets little sound bites stuck in it
Mm-hmm.
that it then plays. It's one of those things that makes you just like realize how humans are just like reflex arcs. Just kind of do whatever the next thing is without thinking.
Hey, what? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Sorry. I was about to yell at WordPress again. Wouldn't be a Tuesday night if I'm not yelling at WordPress.
Oh, I'm not good enough at Magic to have like a deck, but I've always appreciated the mono blue like play style. Not that I'm good at it.
You mean the
But-
one that's really annoying?
Yeah, exactly. Michael is really, really good at Magic.
Michael loves Magic.
Yeah, he's super good at Magic.
Michael had an article published on Wizards of the Coast website
Yeah,
talking about a deck build
he would always want to play with
way
me, but
back in the day.
he would just crush me. So,
Yeah, that was basically me. I just lose.
and then I would lose, and he would try to explain why I lost. And I'm like, look, the reason I lost, I'm sure your explanation is right, but the actual reason is that you have a map of like every single card and all of their potential interactions, and I've seen this deck just now. That's why I lost. Okay.
Yeah. The reason I lost is because I never liked the game enough to spend the required amount of time on it to be not terrible. I don't dislike the game. I don't know. Just never got into games like that much. It was a fun
Yeah.
little thing to do like every so often, but
Sure.
it was expensive. I mean, we played in high school and it just cost so much money. And we played Pokemon in middle school. I remember that. That was really expensive too. But I would play the Pokemon card game, and then in the back of my head, I was just like, why don't I just go play the video game? And so I did that.
That makes sense. What is this?
What's this? What's this?
No. Huh.
Why are you running so slow today, computer? How much memory is the stream taking up? Not that much. Oh, there it goes. It just sped up. Okay.
Well, just in time for the stream to end.
No, I still got a little bit of stuff to do. What is that? Is that the character you play?
It's just you pick a different character each game.
The problem is this freaking the thing. What is that? Sounds like a modem.
It's my UPS.
Why is this heart on it?
All right.
It's just gonna
I don't know what that means, so I think I'm going to shut down the computer.
Okay. You should probably get that checked out. Hey, did it stop? Or did you just mute your mic?
It did stop, but I'm going to shut down anyway.
It's probably safe.
All right, good night, everyone.
Later, man. Have a good night. Almost done. 8 minutes. Fuck. Not almost done. Oh, this thing is chugging along so slowly today. Did you? I never did. Never did. I went to like a Magic tournament at like a local store with Michael like once, and I played in it, and I lost all my games. I lost all my games. I'm sticking around at least for the next. Oh, he hasn't. Oh. Oh, you haven't caught up yet. Oh, well, okay. Then you're not gonna hear this. File export. Exporting the file. Podcast. Final. Not ending yet. It'll probably be fairly soon. What time is it? Oh my god, it's almost 1 o'clock. Crap. I still gotta do 80 pages worth of reading in this book. It's gonna be a late night. Man, everything on Audition is going slow today, and I don't know why. There we go. Final. Done. Now the upload. Now the upload is going to take forever for some reason. Was our Patreon really down? Yeah, down for maintenance. Bummer. Wonder if they emailed us about it. If it was scheduled maintenance. I'd be kind of annoyed if they did not. Publish. Welcome back to Live, Zendrex. Did anyone, I saw on Reddit someone said they were gonna read the chapter. Did anyone check that out? Yes, I just saw someone posting on Reddit. I'm gonna read. Someone said I posted on Reddit. I'm gonna do a live read through today's. Where's my voice going? I'm gonna do a live read of today's chapter tonight, and it started at 9. So obviously I haven't read the chapter, and so I couldn't. But I guess none of y'all tuned into the stream. I guess you just read the chapter out loud on Twitch, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how I don't know how enjoyable of an experience that would be, because the thing about audiobooks is it's edited, so all the stumbles and stuff is not in the stream. Sierra Grau linked it in the We've Got Worm chat if you want to look at it. I guess they probably have their VOD there. I don't know why I say V. Would you say VOD, Scott? Cool. Done. Wait. Shit. Oh no. Was I actually done, or did I just close something I shouldn't close? Yeah, they take a long time to do. I've never recorded an audiobook segment, but when we do the book clubs and we read the half a page worth of stuff we pull out, how many times Matt and I stumble upon words, I can't imagine. It is scheduled. Okay. All right, my voice is going, and I just finished, so I think I'm gonna shut it down for the night. Thanks for hanging out as always, guys. We will see you. Hopefully, we'll see you guys on Friday for the book club. If you guys have not voted in the book club vote for next month, it's on right now, so go vote. Have a good night, everyone.